this video, we strive to remain spoiler-free, discussing only story and plot elements from the books relevant to what has occurred already on the show.
Hi, I'm Max.
reverseBLT here.
Hi, Oliver's ears.
And I'm Bill, also known as Matt Stagger, and welcome to What the Adaptation, where we take a look at source material from one particular medium that's brought into another medium and sort of compare them up. And we're also here to discuss why I find Mogideon so attractive and so off-putting at the same time, and how much therapy I need to fix it.
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I can try.
The answer is you watch way too much York.
Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I do have a thing for Bjork, so evil Bjork makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Her in that swan outfit still lives rent-free in my head.
seriously.
This episode's writer was Rami Park.
Who
And
killed it last season. I just want to throw that in there.
notice here, I just found this out today, that she was the primary writer for the Wheel-Time Origins.
Oh,
Interesting.
you mean the thing they had to shelve because Red Eagle sucks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. As long as they're clear.
But,
That
you know,
I really liked the only season we got of that.
Yep.
Even though we were promised
They-
more.
They look good and informative. I thought they were great.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, they were.
And I know a lot of people appreciated them for their, relative accuracy on the lore. So there's that. And then, other things she's known for, like she had an episode for Quantum Leap, the new series, which
Oh, I
unfortunately
love
got
that show.
canned.
Oh
Yeah.
man. I swear, it's like every time I start looking at looking at a show, it gets canceled right after it.
Right. And then returning again as Marta Cunningham, who did this
Our director.
episode, or last two episodes of Wheel of Time. And we see here some shows she worked on. She's known for 61st Street, Valentine Road, Genius, Modern Love. They have one episode of Discovery, Star Trek Discovery, which, Glenn hates. But without Discovery, we wouldn't have that other fantastic Star Trek show that came out.
Lower Decks?
Deep Space Nine.
I'm trying to remember what it's called here. My brain's fried right now.
I freaking love Lower Decks, by the way. I think Lower Decks is one of the greatest things Star Trek has ever produced.
I do have a question, though. Didn't Remy write episode 6 of last season?
Remy last season? Let's
Didn't
see.
she write episode 6 of last season?
Here she's
Yes,
working
Eyes
as
Without Pity.
Everton. Yep.
Okay. I thought so. I'm like, she's just
Eyes Without
killing
Pity.
it, man.
Yeah.
There
Also,
are
yeah, I
emotional
know her
beats.
name.
She just...
She clearly has been doing some work because I know her name without even knowing why I know her name. So, but though I think it might be because she was at ABC News for a while and Associated Press and stuff. So probably
And
I
yes,
might remember her name.
Glenn, I was thinking of Strange New Worlds. Without Discovery, we wouldn't have had Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, she is, Tom. I mean, she's able to write such emotional, resonant things that, like the ending of this episode, which we'll get to. Dear God, how heart crushing was that? And
Yeah.
she's able to do it with a deftness that isn't too much, but at the same time is just soul wreckingly haunting. And I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it didn't veer into melodrama. It was just drama.
Yeah.
Which I think was very commendable. That's really
I
hard
think
to do.
she also gave you your favorite scene there, Matt.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to lie. If she told me to, I would let her mama bird that food right in my mouth. And it's wrong, and I know it's wrong, but at the same time,
Bill, you need help. You
I know
definitely
therapy
need
is
help.
in order.
Yep. And we did show that Rapunzel.
Yep. We talked about that.
Moggy and I would have to find a nice little subby to tag team.
I mean,
We showed that right here.
I'm not
Under
saying I would
Real-Time
say no.
Origins.
I mean, I can switch.
Unfortunately, I don't swing that way. I wish I
Yeah.
did, but yeah. I would have a much fuller dance card if I did.
So I guess we should start with the cold open, which, oh,
Speaking of an amazing scene.
I'm still angry that they're making me feel bad for Leandrin. Like in the books, you can burn her at the stake and I'd be okay with it. This Leandrin, I'm like, no, we can save her. I swear.
Mm-hmm.
I love that that's my favorite thing about the adaptation, honestly, is that they take all the villains and they say, let's make them actual human beings.
Yeah.
It's like nobody does evil for the lulz. They just don't. Like every single person thinks they're doing
Volda, but
something right.
Volda kind of does.
Okay. Yeah. Are we going to get a Volda backstory?
I don't want
it. Yeah, well, yeah, because I have noticed that one thing that is fun, if you're going to do a series where you give all of your villains humanity, it is fun to have one or two who just never get it.
Well,
who just
look at
are there
Elida.
to just be, I am here to chew scenery and be evil, and
yeah,
I have no
Elida,
reason beyond that. That's fine.
We got Volda, we got Elida. I mean,
I think we're going to get backstory in Elida.
I don't think it'll be sympathetic,
backstory coming with her.
She did too much awful stuff when Swan and Lorraine were coming up. She was still horrible then, so I don't know what they can do to make me feel sorry for her. I will watch her eat up scenery every single time and drool while it's happening because Shorei is that amazing.
Shorei, yeah.
But at the same time, that character, I don't think they can make me love her.
I know they moved her from like me just going, I kind of am annoyed by her to actually actively disliking her when she called Swan river trash.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, okay, she just moved into the hatred category. she's got some work.
It was such a great insult, too. Rapunzel. It really was.
That's an interesting idea, Rapunzel.
What's that?
Giving Leandrin Ingtar's arc.
Oh. I don't hate it.
I don't either. Actually, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, regarding Leandrin, I was so glad that they did the backstory on her because they did such a nice job with her and her son Aldrin in last season, and to bring it full circle, so we get the explanation as to why she was so dedicated to him. I really liked that.
Yeah.
For me, the one thing that sort of took me out of it, and this is solely on me, is when she did it in my head, all I heard was like Unreal Tournament, headshot, double kill. It was running through my head. That's all I heard.
I think you might have just inspired my parting gag for that episode.
Oh my God. It's just, I couldn't get it out of my head. Headshot.
It's too bad she didn't go on a spree because then I could start doing the triple
killing
overkill.
Well, you can use overkill for the skull stomping. She really goes to work barefoot.
That's true.
I'm barefoot. And here's the thing. I cheered her on eating popcorn while enjoying her doing it. And I shouldn't. I felt dirty afterwards, but I did in the moment.
I always say that nobody deserves to die, but some people have to. And I think that was a scene that exemplified that belief.
Yeah. She went full Liana on them.
That's entirely possible. We could find out her last name is Geraldi.
Yeah, I think there was a reason why they had Tom like really lean on her name.
Yeah.
In this episode, to really remind the audience of like her last name. Yeah.
Was there? What would the reason be behind that? Do you think? I mean, the last name really isn't relevant to much else in the
story. They would want us to remember it for some reason. Like they're going to mention it later in context of another character. That makes perfect sense that they would mention it later.
Okay.
And that's the only
reason to really bring it up.
What if Eludrin had, a daughter who ended up having another daughter and named her after her father and just changed it to Eludra.
Yeah.
Then those two names would be tied together perfectly. So I love that idea.
Yeah.
Well, if we get Eludra, we better hear the last name then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I don't really expect we're gonna get the circus this season.
No, I don't think we are this season at all.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they were to travel with a circus next season to get to the wall, the tier.
I would love that. I would love that, but actually having a circus around them is expensive, really expensive. So I don't see them actually doing the circus. I hate to say it because I love Val and Luca, and there's not some other way you could work it in as it's a traveling bazaar as opposed to a circus or something.
Yeah, but just that just that general idea, of Val and Luca's whatever, and work in Eludra through that route.
100% be okay with that.
Of them traveling by land to tier.
They did show the Illuminators Guild when they pulled into the city on the boat.
They did.
Yeah. And for Val and Luca, I don't think we need to necessarily have animals. He can just have strange people and acrobats and such.
The comment about the traveling bazaar made me go straight to thinking about like freak shows. I think freak shows would fit into this world that we've created. We might even be able to rope in the Tuatha On somehow into this as well, to really underscore the idea of Tuatha On dark friends, and to get some of that nice tension of the Aiel now, learning who they are and all that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get some weird sort of combination Tuatha On / freak show traveling caravan kind of thing.
Yeah, it just has to be entertainment. Not all circuses have animals. They tight ropes, etc.
In my head, it's all circus. Animals. It's Ringling Brothers, So in my head, I'm that's expensive.
Modern concept of the circus. I think if they go back to sort of like brass tacks of how circuses started out, it would probably fit. Because they usually didn't have those big extravagant check out the big animal, check out the 3 ring events kind of thing at first.
Well, right after I was going to say right after Leandrin's cold open, there are 2 more sequences with her where she is interrupted in her dream by Lanfear, and then when she's talking to the other Black Aja and pulls out the image of the shackled band.
Yeah, I did want to talk about her actually interacting with Ishii, because I've seen a lot of confusion, especially from non-readers. And I just want to touch on the fact that in the books during this time, he was close enough to the surface that he could reach out to people's dreams. If you notice, you see Leandrin nod off. Her eyes go close, her head goes back. And then the docks are clear. There's nobody on them. There's no noise. And the edges are fuzzy, which is the filter they're using for Teleron Riyadh. So she was actually in Teleron Riyadh, and that's how he reached out to her. So I just wanted to clarify that for anybody who hasn't read the books, because I've seen a little bit of confusion about that. That's how Ishii was able to do it. I know he was still sealed, but he was close enough to the outer edge of the bore that he could reach out in dreams, which he did in season 1 to Perrin, Matt, and Rand. So
also someone pointed out, which I hadn't noticed while watching, that they do that weird jump cut thing where Ishii sort of pops around a bit in frame that they've been using every time he's been in people's dreams before. So it's one of those things super easy to miss, or at least not to really think about as being anything other than a stylistic choice. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, okay. I'm with you, Tom. I would absolutely watch that series, by the way. But I do love the symbolism when we move on and she's sitting in the throne, basically the Amerlin seat, and it's just shadows and dust. That's all she can rule is shadow and dust. And that's all I could think about. I'm like, you're the ruler over nothing. You've thrown that away.
Yeah.
And also shackled herself. Like she took shelter in the shackled man, and now she's basically shackled. A lot of cool symbolism here. I have a question for you guys though, because I know I missed this completely, and I didn't realize it, and I never realized it on my own. Yeah, I saw other people talk about it, and yeah, how cool was that? The subtle little hint.
You see Maggie hiding behind the corner, just creeping off. So she's paying attention at least to what Lanfear
now
is
she's
up
the
to.
strongest of all of them in Teleronriod, right?
In the books, yes. I'm
I
assuming
believe she was.
in the show she actually is as well.
Yeah, I think they're kind of hinting at that with stuff like that she could be there, and Lanfear literally had absolutely no idea that she was also being spied on and everything.
Well, yeah, the final episode of season 2, when Lanfear walks into the room, everything goes dim and fuzzy. That is Teleronriod, and Moggy owns her with that little spider web trap that actually cuts her. It's like, yeah, you got it owned. So I don't know if you should be walking around talking about Queen of Teleronriod.
Right. With prep, Moggy wins.
Be like, my evil Bjork girlfriend will absolutely slay you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Lanfear, and I wouldn't say no. In fact, we were the whole Rand thing. I was like, you can't blame him. She's really, really beautiful. And my wife's like, I'd do it too. I'm like, okay, I don't feel bad now. At least my wife would too.
See, my thing is I keep going back to, but there's good in her still. I can reach in there and pull out the good in her.
No,
Mirren is still there.
No, you can't.
No.
And I have the proof you can't. She has not dared show you her little Saw Angreal 3-finger ring. If she really loved Rand, she would have shared at least, oh yeah, I have this.
But you don't give up all your secrets, you know.
I think she loves him. It's just, unfortunately, I think Lanfear is and I just thought about this. Why they keep leaning on Rand's constant belief about Egwene not thinking he's enough. I know I'm jumping ahead, but it just suddenly dawned on me that they're making a parallel between her and Lanfear, because it's like there's this love they have for this person, but there's something else that's like this need that they need to fill that he cannot fill for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what drives the wedge between them. I see you, show writers.
Anyway, she's basically told, hey, one of you, at least one of you has to be working for Robin. Find out who it is. She's like, what do you want me to do with her? She's like, kill her. And, that's when you lose all sympathy for previous Leandrin, because she didn't know better to, okay, I got to remember, she's just evil.
Yeah.
Just evil.
What? No.
And we got her reveal of her ultimate plan to be elevated to the ranks of the Forsaken.
Which is a good plan. I mean, I can't get mad at her. That is a sound plan.
I laughed at there was another reactor who was like, wait a minute, how's that going to work? Did she send her CV to the Dark One? I just had this image of the Dark One sitting there reviewing resumes.
Yeah.
Bring her in for a loop so they can talk about her experience. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
After that, we do go to Tanchico, and there is that awesome scene where you see somebody on the wheel and they're chucking knives. Mm-hmm. I would love to see the pic with Donald on the wheel. So if you could send that my way, I would happily take it.
Okay.
I had forgotten all about the fact that Tom did that with Nynaeve. I had completely forgotten about it.
Well, she wasn't quite spinning, but for her, it would have been horrible enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she did it with Birgitta, too. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
actually, I would trust Birgitta to throw things at me, though. Birgitta's not going to miss.
Yeah.
I know that.
Well, I mean, she was shooting arrows, but still.
Yeah. Birgitta's the long shot of the Wheel of Time universe. You know what I mean? She will always hit exactly what she intends to hit.
She is the sniper. But we do.
There was one part of this that sort of introduced what we see several times later. We get some actual comedy with the interaction between Min and Matt when they go in and see the Wonder Girls.
Yep.
And Min asks, "Is she always like this?"
They both are.
The
Just
queens of subtlety.
yeah. I mean, that's the beginning of the comedy that we get quite a bit in this show or in this episode, which is kind of fun.
Speaking of comedy, Tom, no, that will not be funny. It will break my heart and it will piss me off. I cannot handle Matt and men becoming romantically entangled.
I
just
it
can't.
doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right.
It doesn't. It's like a brother and sister dating.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. Ugh. I don't like it.
I definitely want her to be there to roast him for any potential romantic entanglements he gets into, though. That would be hilarious.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what,
especially since she knows how they're. Yeah.
I did see a theory tonight, though, that somebody was like, "Well, we're not going to get Brigida. We're going to get Min, who's actually." Maybe she's injured, and maybe Elaine will step in and make her warder instead. And I'm like, I don't like that. I want Brigida.
Yeah.
And I want Katie Sackhoff as Brigida.
But
sorry.
we can't get Katie Sackhoff as Brigida because we already have a Brigida.
We have somebody who temporarily played Brigida. They can easily be the guy.
Okay, that's true.
I don't care. Katie Sackhoff should be Brigida.
What about Anna Torv?
I wouldn't say no. I think that would be a good choice also.
Because that's kind of my headcanon Brigida if we're going with like people who are already working in Hollywood, that at least who I know. Katie Sackhoff is yours too, Glenn. Yeah, I mean I wouldn't be opposed to it. I like Katie Sackhoff and everything that she's in. I think she's a lot shorter than people realize, though. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I would.
Hey,
but yeah, it doesn't really.
Tom
matter.
Cruise has been getting away with it for decades. So we can figure it out.
Yeah, just put her. Hey, yeah, put her on an Apple box.
Yeah, Apple box. We can do this.
Let's see.
What do you guys think of the idea that I've seen floating around that that the guy in the hat, who I guess everybody's thinking is was it Julian, right? Or Julian, or how do you say his name?
Julian? Sandar? No.
I don't think so.
Wait, hold on. I could be misremembering a character though, because after all, you guys know how I am.
It'll be interesting to see if he shows up in the next two episodes as sort of a out of the blue save Mac from something. You never know.
No, well, Max. No, Danny DeVito cannot be cast as a Forsaken. I will not have it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, that is a theory that I wasn't misremembering. So yeah, there's the theory that the guy who brings them the band is actually Julian Sandar.
Yeah, I kind of hate that guy because his body is just perfect. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of that guy, and I'm like, dude, I am working out like crazy, and I can't look half that good. I'm 50, so that makes sense.
A lot of it comes down to fat composition, and some people are just naturally skinny, and I wouldn't never confuse fitness with skinniness. But what I was thinking though, the big thing that gets me,
look at that, dude.
Yeah.
I could clean my clothes on those abs. I could literally clean my clothes on that washboard.
It almost looks like
you had to admire them. They were distracting.
It almost looks like one of the fake muscle prosthetics that they would use in Hollywood. Like it really does look too perfect. But the big thing that I really wanted to get to with him though, because this is the theory that I really wanted to talk about, is the theory.
I can respect that, Rapunzel, 100%.
There's a theory that he's secretly Asmodean.
I mean,
could be.
Because the only thing is just he was too convenient. And that's the thing that makes me think
Matt's
that
luck.
could be true.
That's them introducing Matt's luck.
I always got to remember, Matt's luck. I forgot about
they're
that.
introducing Matt's luck with stuff like that. And it's going to become a bigger deal the more we go along. But this is our intro into Matt's luck. That he just happened to talk to the one guy whose father owned a junk store with that bracelet. That is not coincidence. That is Matt's luck.
And the guy had great abs.
Yeah, also not luck.
Yeah, I thought Matt had said something to the guy about luck as well.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
and they've had more and more mention of games of chance relative specifically to Matt over the past few episodes,
Mhm.
because they talked about what cards in this one, I think, and they
Right.
showed the whole thing with cards too during the Bubbles of Evil parallel, and I think
Mhm.
someone mentioned dice again around him as well. So yeah, they're probably yeah. You guys are right. You guys are right. I didn't think about the luck thing.
Yeah, I think that's them introducing Matt's luck. We're getting, we're getting little snippets of it, but I think it's going to become a much bigger deal the further we go on. That's my hope anyway.
Mhm.
And the
Okay.
ripple effects of it too, because like you have the again jumping around, but like you have the whole thing with the picture that was drawn of him with the horn, helping to bring Fail and Perrin together finally. So yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a ripple effect of his luck.
Well, not just that. I think it's going to come into play later. He's wearing a particular necklace in some of the
Mm.
wider shots for the posters, a Fox-headed one. I do believe he may get lucky in the Panarch's Palace and find
I
it.
agree with you. I agree with
Oh,
you.
that's an
I think he's
interesting
going
way
to
to
find
look
the
at it.
doorway there.
I
I think he's
don't.
well the other one, I should say, because I think we got the one that we already saw in the Room of
Right.
Requirement at the tower, but I think there's going to be another one at the Panarch's Palace.
I think
Agreed.
it's in tier. I think it's still in tier, and we won't get it till next season.
Well, I mean, it's possible.
Oh,
It would be a
all
heck
right.
of a long time for them to make the audience wait for the payoff to Min's visions on that, though.
Yeah, they would never do that. Like they teased out the map by the hats, the kiss with Perrin and Fail. They would never do that.
Well, I mean, but they usually give you the payoff for stuff that they keep bringing up within the season that they keep bringing it up, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Within
I-
the season, they set it up well. But
yeah.
season
Yeah.
to season, I don't know if they're necessarily planning on that. Maybe they are. It's
I
I mean,
don't
they
know.
still
I'd
haven't
be
been
happy.
greenlit for 4, I think. So I don't know if they want to wait that long either, just because of that.
Yeah, true. I'd
Hey.
be happy if he does find it and we do it this season. It would make me extremely happy.
I'm
Yeah,
just worried
but-
about how he's getting Tom's hat.
I'm still thinking that he goes. I'm still thinking he goes through the redstone doorway this season, and Min is the one that keeps him from dying.
Yeah.
Because she was doing all of the, drawing all of the images of him hanging, and she had said something to someone in a different conversation about preventing or changing what, or she
Yeah.
didn't know what came before or after what it was she saw.
Yeah, Elida talked
Yeah.
to her about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that was set up for her to be able to save Matt. So that's my theory.
Jane, the old man.
Person who saw Jane and the other
Yeah.
man.
Now I think we
Oh,
do
yeah.
need to move on to the threefold land here, guys.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
Sure.
Yeah.
we're going down tangents.
Yeah, we start with Eggy talking with Mullane and
one?
Bear,
Okay, here we go.
and then Mo is visited in her dreams by the innkeeper's girlfriend, and then we have Rand and Avi, and they work their way into a garden in the
My
Three
little
Rock
squash girl.
Yeah.
You got the squash part right. Sorry. Too
Aw,
soon?
that's way too soon.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like involuntarily channeling fire weaves right now
Yeah.
because of that.
It does feel a little warm in here.
That was a heartbreaker.
It
Yeah.
was.
I mean, I knew they were gonna hurt that little girl. I mean, it was. She was just too precious and everything. Like right from when we got introduced to her, but I had also forgotten. Maybe I had blocked it out, but I had forgotten what happened in the book.
Oh, yeah, I can never
You know what I
forget
mean?
that.
Right.
So like when it finally got to it, like, man, it's like yeah, and they elevated it. They really did. I have to say for the show, they elevated it.
The book was so much worse, and I had a hard time explaining it to my wife. I'm like, that particular scene was bad, and it's making me cry, and it's making you cry. But trust me when I tell you, the book is so much worse. It is
because we're
way
in Rand's
worse.
head.
Yeah, we're inside his head, so.
Oh yeah, it's horrific.
Yeah.
Not just that, but what he does to her body is way more graphic.
I was wondering if they were going to have her doing
Stand
the
up,
whole puppet
yeah.
master thing. Yeah.
Which is just.
Oh, that would.
Oh, absolutely, Tom. This is the first name on his list.
I think they did some subtle stuff where you can hear her bones breaking and stuff while he's trying to channel her back to life.
I think it was very subtle when he started doing the CPR type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that. All right.
I mean, I could be imagining it. You know, I could definitely be layering on my own like trauma into that scene.
Well, there's also like the whispering you were kind of hearing as he's channeling through all that, and
I swear I heard Ileana. I swear I heard that. I had the headphones on. I was listening real hard on my rewatch, and I swear I heard Ileana, you know what I mean? Ileana.
There was someone talking about reminding us that the guy who's I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who plays Luz Theron did do ADR for the season while he was working on his other project. So they were saying that we probably did hear whispers there, and they were probably actually the stuff he recorded for the season.
Before we get there, though, back to Eggie and her being tied to the wheel.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and you'll notice when she really gets to Lanfear is when she says, "If he knew you had touched me," and that's when she grabs her throat. And I think that moment should have told Eggie, okay, Rand probably doesn't know, because she reacted really badly to that.
Yeah. Well, Eggie on the wheel happens a little later in the episode, but
a random thing you might notice when Lanfear is like talking to Rand versus when she's like talking to say Egwene or I'm fucking losing my mind on who names here, but Blackajaw, Red Lady.
Leandrin.
Leandrin, like I said, lose my brain on names here. Like when she is talking to Rand, her face is more smooth and young looking.
Yeah, she's less severe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's another reason I have to rewatch it.
Well, when you go back to the first episodes of this season,
I don't need excuses.
There's a smoother. There's definitely a smoother look to her face, youngness to it, versus when she's like looking at Egwene or anyone else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can just think yes, mommy. Whatever you say, mommy. That's all I hear.
Like she shows up to Leandrin wearing the outfit she used to blow up Kyrian. She shows up to Moiraine and to Egwene wearing that like black, like look at me, I'm all shadowy number. And to Rand, she basically is simply dressed in light clothing, and her hair has also got pretty much no product in it. It's just free flowing and everything. It's very interesting. Makes you wonder how much of her image is her projecting it, and how much of it is them projecting it. You know what I mean? Like how the people she's talking to imagine her. You know?
Night, Tom. Sleep well and wake.
Oh, all right.
Oh, good night. Yeah, like and subscribe.
Hi, Tom.
Yes, please.
Because that was you just made me think about that though, like just like because Rand would see her a certain way, and the other characters would see her a certain way. So I'm just wondering like how much of it is like her projecting it, and how much of it is just her. This is just how they see her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Each character.
So you're saying that the makeup and all that for her is dependent upon who it is she's interacting with.
Well, to some degree, maybe. I don't know, obviously, but it feels right in a sense that because it also fits in with the thing we keep getting about how you have control over your dreams, right? And it's like, so she's asserting control over other people's dreams, but they're still the ones ultimately in the driver's seat, unless she pulls them all the way into Teleron Riyadh, which I think the show is being a little bit deliberately vague about when when the boundary has been completely crossed, you know, just sort of maybe to kind of just preserve a little bit of ambiguity for the audience, so you won't necessarily know what the stakes are specifically in that particular moment. But I think a lot of times we're seeing them still being in the person's native dream, and she's just strong enough to assert a high level of control over it, but they're still ultimately in the driver's seat. And if that's the case, then yeah, they're projecting what they think she is onto her.
Mm-hmm. Now there was I heard some discussion last week about they think Egwene's training is moving too fast.
That's Egwene.
It has to.
Yeah,
that's Egwene too, though. I mean, that's like, isn't that just like a characteristic of Egwene? Is that she just kicks the training wheels off her bike and goes for it?
She is a teacher's pet. Yeah.
The point I wanted to make is that last week they thought they were pushing it too fast, and this week we had instances where she continues to learn.
Yeah, so she got chastised for
going. I'm glad that they're not making it look as if she's an instant student on this.
Oh yeah. Like she's like ultimate prodigy or something, knows everything there is to know right away.
She got chastised right away in the episode for, going in to tell her on when not, without her permission and not doing what she's supposed to be and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think since the beginning. Sorry, Matt.
I think she's going to get punished before she leaves. She is going to have to meet her toe for that. They glossed over it pretty quickly in this episode, but the Aiel are not going to forget.
I hope she digs a hole.
With a spoon. That'd be awesome.
I think the show's done a pretty good job, though, since the beginning of having Egwene be the precocious student trope. You know what I mean? Like, she's not a Mary Sue or anything. She's just she is genuinely a very capable, smart, fast learner, but she frequently tries to run faster than she is ready to run, and the consequences keep hitting her for that. So I think that's a perfect way to do that,
Well, speaking of consequences, we do go to the gardens. Rand happens to pick up her spear.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is this delightful?
I love how she shifted immediately. Like I love how her personality immediately changed when he touched her spear. She goes straight from like, Randall Thor, look at my squashes too. What the hell did you just do? Immediately.
She got real gangster real quick.
Yep.
Like, I don't care if you are Karn, I will cut you.
I really hope she was just screwing with him that actually was her shovel.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah. That would have been funny.
But we'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know.
And I love the way Rand reacted to her. And Avi obviously backed him up after the fact, but it's almost like when he first met her and immediately went chasing her, they're having fun. And in this instance, he's still having fun, and it's all games, and they both just enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he took her seriously. He didn't treat her like a child. He treated her like you would treat an actual maiden who has been disrespected. So I said, I'm sorry for violating your G. You have my toe.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the way she put the spear away when she was done with it.
Oh, yeah. She has no harness, so she has to hold it there. That was so cute.
Yeah.
I did see a theory somebody put out that spear is going to become his scepter as opposed to the Shan Chan one.
Oh, that's a fun idea.
And I kind of like that idea better. It would have more emotional resonance with the audience if you see him walking around with that particular spear.
Yeah, but does that mean we don't get the igloo?
No, we can still do the igloo. There's just no spear cut in half.
All right. Okay, after the threefold land, we go to the two rivers. Perrin is helped into the inn. Alana and Maxim are talking about death. And we end this little two rivers section with a nice shot of Fane up on a hill.
I love seeing Trollocs in the daytime every time. I get a better look at them. I love
practical Trollocs are back and they look great.
Yeah, they do. And I love that fact. They looked menacing. I love the fact that he had a cadre of dark friends with him too.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they composed this shot too, so that it's super obvious that he is in complete control of this group of people.
Oh yeah, hands folded,
You know what I mean?
creepily whistling.
He's the only one up there who looks like he is 100% at ease.
Yeah. And he's forward. He's more tall, or he's taller.
Mhm.
So yeah.
The most dangerous people in the party, the Trollocs, are behind him, and he's like, it doesn't matter to him at all. You know?
Yeah.
Somebody said that the woman next to him is actually Millie Skane. She's credited.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm not 100% on that. It's just something I came across in a chat, and I'm like, I wonder if that's true. Or one of the names that Millie Skane used, maybe.
Okay. Wow. That'd be interesting to introduce her at this point.
I don't think I know the name, so what book is that from?
She was the one that tried to kill Matt with the that poisoned dagger when he and Tom were holed up in a barn, and was that the same barn Aludra came into later, or? I think
so.
Okay. So
it was during that trip, if not the same barn.
So is that the Shadow Rising?
It would be. Yeah, because they're on their way to Camelin. Matt and Tom are on their way to Camelin.
Yeah, and they hide up in a barn.
Yeah, and she had tracked them down, and I think she had some compatriots with her. Now, is she supposed to be the same one who accosted Rand while he was going to Tyr?
Oh, okay. Glenn says Matt and Rand in the barn in Eye of the World. Oh, because it was all the way back then. Okay.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It was the dagger that was smoking when it was put into wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was Matt and Tom. All right.
She's a prolific murderer. They mentioned how many people she had killed, and it's just a prolific murderer. So
yeah.
I love the idea of introducing her if that's the case.
Yeah.
I like it. And I loved everything about the Two Rivers sort of thing. We didn't have a whole lot of action, but we got a lot of build up and connection. Mm-hmm. We got to see Max and Alana sort of begin their repairing of the tear that was in their relationship. And we get some trauma bonding between Fael and Perrin. So
yeah, very good use actually, I think, of the sort of new stuff about, like, you know, oh, my mom's a dark friend and everything. I thought they handled.
A lot of people hate it.
Actually, we haven't even gotten to that yet.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I keep jumping ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay. It's so, it's almost like maybe we should just take a location and follow it.
I mean, that's how my brain works.
That's how Dragon Mountain does it. Honestly, they their podcast. They pick a location. They do everything in that location. They move on to the next location.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's viable.
Well, the only real picture I have for Lana here is like this one, where Maxim's holding her hand.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And then I have the one where she's getting healed.
I know a lot.
I didn't really have any good pictures on the thing I had. It was just like, it kind of looked like she was giving birth in those pictures. Is weird.
Well, she looks like she's giving birth in the show. The way her legs are positioned.
Yeah.
I mean, but she just got,
I don't think that's an accident.
Arrows.
She got like 3 bolts through each leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty gruesome.
Or like 2 bolts in one and 1 in the other. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that was an accident. The birthing sort of reminiscent imagery, because I mean, you think about it, like, she's there trying to birth a new army. She's got 2 baby channelers who are helping her out right now as she walks through healing.
Right.
And, you know, there's a rebirth of a relationship with Maxim. You know, I don't know. I don't think that was an accident.
You might have.
I might be reading too much into it though, but I think you might be right about, like.
I like the symbolism if that's what they were going for. Absolutely, and it is noticed. So.
Well, and at this
I know
point,
some
I
people
thought
complained about this.
Yeah, I thought Alana and Maxim were kind of going over she's about to die, and what's he going to
Yeah.
do, and so it was actually a very depressing conversation. There wasn't a whole lot to look forward to because they had no idea about the girls yet.
No,
And
but
then
the
the
fact
hope
that he
comes
was
in.
sitting there holding her hand,
Yeah.
and it was a very supportive moment between the two, which we wouldn't have got a couple episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At least
Yeah.
it feels that way. So
They had that nice little conversation about what was really bothering them, and then got to work out some of the pain through fighting.
Yeah.
which
And
is
getting
very
shot,
Green Asha, right?
I mean, she had to actually sit there and listen to him. She couldn't run off.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good point, Max. Yeah,
She had to
very
feel her
much a captive
feelings.
audience.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
yeah.
Okay, following that was a fairly short session in the Two Rivers. We pop back to Tanchico, and we have several sequences that go on. First, we see Elaine flirting in general. Matt is talking to guys at a table, looking for the caller, and shortly after that, he hears a voice singing in the background. Then we got the very interesting thing here. Min and Nynaeve together.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a very interesting pairing that they've got going. This is where they're
Great
drinking,
chemistry
and
unexpectedly.
yeah, Min says, "Let your braid down."
Yeah.
Then we pop over to the Dark Friends, Leandra and Naomi, where Naomi says that she thinks the Panarch, or they have a conversation about where the caller might be, and then Moggy ends up this Tanchico section spitting in some food.
Yeah.
So we've got
a lot
Elaine
more
met
than spit.
and the Min Nin thing up at the beginning of this section.
Yeah, talking about the beads represent your worth. I love the fact that Matt was like, "You shouldn't wear that one. That's way too many beads," and he immediately puts it on himself.
He clearly wants to demand a high price.
Like, Matt's a slut. I love it.
I was wondering if
Makes
that's
me
what he
laugh.
did or not. I wasn't
Yeah,
sure, but you confirmed
He
that
put
to
it
me.
on. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, he was wearing it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
And
he
he
put
was-
it on.
He was also leaning into the whole like sex appeal thing when he was like asking about where he could find the collar and stuff too. I mean, he was very clearly trying to like appeal to the guy's potential interest in him.
Okay, you got that vibe too then. Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
100%.
I don't think there was ever any doubt he was flirting. He was absolutely
even with the whole
flirting.
a big strong man like me, and I love the touch of having the guy behind him chuckle when he said that too.
I know.
That's so great. Having Matt's like confidence like waver just slightly when the guy chuckled. He looks over at him like what? I am a big strong man.
I love what he says before that when he's like, "If you want a taste of this." And he's scooping the coins in, but he's deadlocked eyes with the guy.
Yeah.
And he's talking about himself, I swear. He's
Okay.
like,
And they laid that
"You want
they
some of
laid the
this?"
groundwork for that earlier in the episode. Oh, okay. You know how my brain works, so I'm probably not gonna remember which episode exactly it was, but like when he's mad about the brothers getting lucky, and he has that scene with the girl he's impressing, with the novice he's impressing with the horn. And she's like, "Oh, the princes are here," or whatever.
Oh.
He thinks that they're talking about having the princes come in to join them. You know what I mean? And he's like, "Oh, well, okay. The more the merrier," kind of thing. They laid the groundwork there. It's like, no, this Matt is down. He's down. He's
down
down for whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, they carried it forward here. So it's like it shouldn't have been a surprise to the audience at all that he was flirting with this guy. It's just he's clearly a pansexual dude.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that
could be.
because it's book canon pretty much.
Matt, don't discriminate.
No, I don't remember anything about Matt and guys in the books. As far as an interest goes.
No, he does flirt.
I think he was flirty.
Yeah, he was flirty, but he
guys.
doesn't
Oh,
do
okay.
anything. But he is
Oh,
flirty
yeah.
with everybody, men,
Okay.
women, cats. I'm sure.
Yeah. They just made it more overt in the show. They made it an
they
actual
did.
plot point, I guess, in the show.
There is something that bothers me a little bit about him and Tom's conversation when they first see each other. And he's like, "Oh, hey, remember me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I should. You left me here with a fade." And he's like, "Hey," he's trying to talk to him, and Tom says, "No, it's already cost me too much, way too much." Now, when he walks away, I'm really trying to see if he's got a limp.
Yeah.
I was looking for it. I didn't see it.
I didn't either. So what
Okay.
did he lose? I'm like, did he make a deal? Are we getting Dark Friend Tom? Because that would highly upset me.
Well, so that's another thing I
Oh.
thought of that I didn't want to give voice to because I knew people would immediately get mad at me for even suggesting it.
It's a thought I had.
But, well, no, I'm going to go further than that. One thing that occurred to me when we first were introduced to Tom was that he would also be an interesting way, not necessarily a fan favorite way to do this, but an interesting way to introduce Asmodean. Now, my
Okay.
first thought was that they were rolling the two characters together. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you
That
could.
Tom and Asmodean in this world were going to be the same thing. But when we got the reveal about the fact that Ishii hadn't released anybody else except Lanfear yet, I was like, okay, that's not on the table. But this gap of not having Tom puts the possibility on the table that Tom is either dead or just out of the story somehow, and this is Asmodean. Like, masquerading as Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which could explain why he has no limp, which could explain why he just shows up now and everything like that. But I don't know. I'm just putting it out there as a possibility because I can see some story economy reasons to do it.
All right.
And also because I know that it's very shocking, and sometimes in adaptations you actually will just do something just to shock the people who come in with existing knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, just
on
so
that
big
front,
things
I would
different.
say, how would they know who Thom is in relation to Matt and Rand? Like,
if he was captured by a fade and tortured, like, I don't know, like, there's some
information,
ways I can
yeah.
make it work, but yeah, you would have to retroactively go back and work a bunch of stuff to make it
Yeah,
actually
but
work.
I think
in the
you have to-
show, like, this might be book bias. To me, it did look like he had a very slight limp, but what he also did lose was, his Gleeman's cape. He has a different one this season.
A better one, mind you. It's got way more of the patch, the flowing patches on it. So, I mean,
And
is
he-
that really a loss, Tom?
He
Is
might
it?
have also have a different guitar. I
He
don't know.
does. He has a better one.
So
Oh,
I
okay.
had thought that his original Gleeman's cloak was just reversible. You know what I mean? So it's just like stealth mode
Yeah.
versus Gleeman mode.
Yeah.
But I do like this one a lot. And as for the limp, I did not see a limp. What I noticed was that he just seemed to be moving more slowly. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe that's how they're doing the injury. Whereas it's
But-
not like, oh, I have like a really obvious limp, but it's just
Right.
that he's lost the steps, so to speak,
Mhm.
Yeah, he immediately
Dunno.
goes, sits with Matt, and they start talking. Matt slips into the old tongue as usual
Mhm.
lately. And Tom's like, wait, you learned the old tongue? And Matt's like, well, yes, I did.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you didn't. You just
He's
had
learned
it
to just roll
implanted.
with it.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I
little
like
moment.
their pairing though, regardless of where it
Oh, yeah,
ultimately
me too.
goes. I've always thought that to me, Tom's relationship with Matt was more significant, at least up to the point where I've gotten in the books, than his relationship with Rand. So I didn't really miss, the stuff that didn't happen with Rand and Tom. But I was really hoping we would get Tom and Matt back together, and I'm glad to see that that's what's happening.
Yeah, I
I'm
do
just
love
worried
the
about
moment.
how he's getting his hat.
Well,
Yeah.
I do love the moment where he turns around, he sees Elaine, and he's like, "What is the bloody daughter of of Andor, the heir of Andor, doing here?
So do you know how much I sacrificed to make sure that little dummy wouldn't be in this
Exactly.
situation?
Okay,
You know, there's
them
also
saying
the-
Tom
Tom
Waits
Waits
is
Maryland.
not okay. That in no way vindicates you calling him Tom Waits. That in no way
No.
vindicates you in doing so.
You know, as far as like Thom being like Asmodean, him knowing Leandrin, like sure, a Forsaken might know a Black Ajah member, but his connection to his nephew
Right.
and Leandrin, like that's pretty solid connection there. And I think that might be too
Yeah.
in depth of a connection for like their background knowledge on like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think they're gonna go that in depth for like torture for background information, like how he
Jen,
knows
don't
Leandra and his
encourage him.
nephew. You know how he knows Elaine, for instance, and working in the court.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know
I
they
think that's way too much
he's
background
mentioned it-
information for a Forsaken to, you know, get.
Yeah, and
Wait.
he's mentioned his nephew, but and I think he said something about the Red Aja.
Yeah,
But
he did.
he said
Season
nothing
1.
about any specific person. So, you know, there's room for them to play there if they want.
And actually, since you bring that up, that's a good way to do a tell to at least the audience if they do go that route. Because you're right, he didn't go into great detail on that when you talked about it before. So they could have like a moment later where it's like he doesn't remember that he had a nephew that had an interaction with Leandrin. And that would be our tell, at least, that like, wait a minute, something's wrong with this Tom. Knowing that Elaine's the daughter heir doesn't really tell us. That's not necessarily information that a Forsaken couldn't get pretty easily. But you're right. It would be more difficult for them to get all the information about, like, you know, how much information he should know, you know, about the court and everything. And if he's not Asmodean, then we have a flip side thing where it's like he would be the one who would recognize that Robin is not really a member of the court, because you know what I mean? Because Robin's compulsion has been telling everybody he's been there for what, 10 years?
Yep.
And presumably Tom Maryland would 100% know that that's not true. You know what I mean? So maybe Elaine at some point would be like, oh yeah, Robin told me this. He'd be like, who the fuck are you talking about? You know, and they'll compare some notes. So like interesting memories and stuff will be played with one way or another, regardless of which way to go with this character.
I do like that he immediately got up to go to Elaine's rescue when she had a knife pulled on her.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Pleasure.
Gesundheit, which is consistent with real Tom.
Yeah. So that does give me a bit of pause, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is our Tom after all. Just I didn't like that little comment he made about how much it cost him, and I'm like, I don't like that. That opens doors. So I'm hoping that's just me being paranoid.
At the very least, it's something to be explored. So I'm sure they won't just leave that dangling. You know, we'll get some exploration about what it cost him.
You know, you say dangling, and I just think the nose guard.
Yeah, which is weird. You know, it's supposed to be a veil over your eyes, and he's absolutely wearing that on his nose. But I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat, buddy. I do love Tom's whole shtick though of, there you are, you lazy chit. And when he calls her that, she loses her accent when she responds to him, and he has to cut her off because her Tanchico.
Oh, I missed that.
It was the Terabon. Yeah, her Terabon.
Her Terabon accent completely goes away. She's like, hey, you know, starts responding, and he interrupts her. Love that. And then we get what is probably going to be the most sung song at Jordan Con this year, The Hills of Tanchico.
Yeah. And this would be Matt dancing in the background.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
That's my friend.
Yep.
I loved Elaine's moment of realization about what the song was alluding to.
She looks down and sees them doing the whole thing, and she's like, oh, shite. And she turns to Tom, and Tom's like, you wanted this.
Yep.
You wanted this song.
And of course, they walk in.
Yeah, I think that's probably the third or fourth time they sing the song. We get it all the way through the
multiple
first.
encores.
Right.
multiple encores. So I definitely didn't listen to all the lyrics the first
Oh, I
time
did.
around. Like I caught the whole bit about the hills of Tanchico and realized, wait a minute, they're talking about the hills on a woman. You know what I mean?
Oh,
But
yeah, yeah.
I didn't pay attention to the subtle other stuff going on with that song. It took other people pointing it out for me to realize that this song probably
Dude.
does double duty about the statue.
One is not enough. 3 is too many. Come on. That is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I immediately went
Good
to
work.
the Running Man. Or, I mean, not the Running Man. Total Recall.
Sorry, now
I
I'm thinking about Arnold
immediately-
Schwarzenegger running around.
yeah.
And like...
Immediately, Total Recall.
Oh my God, 3's too many. Yeah. No, I was talking about like the shackled man bit about the other parts of the song's lyrics.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I didn't
but
pick
yeah,
up the shackled man aspect at all in the song. So
I did on my
Yeah,
rewatch.
it took me
First time-
reading the lyrics. It took me reading the lyrics online to go, oh shit, yeah, part of this song probably is relating to the whole shackled man thing.
okay,
one of
you
those
guys have
Mitzi
given
old-
me yet one more reason to watch it yet again.
Hold on,
So
uh,
at this point, Mitch has been rewatching it every day this week until the release day.
Yeah.
Oh god.
But I gotta say, Kara Coveney's voice is absolutely beautiful.
Oh,
We did get a
yeah.
little bit of Matt joining in. We know he can sing from Hadestown. So that was nice, that nice little moment. And it was a lighthearted moment that I think was needed, given some of the darkness coming our way. So,
Well, and we have been jumping ahead, but once she's done with this and she comes down off the stage, and Min and Nynaeve give her a little bit of grief about, not
blending in.
blending in and all that, and she says, "I did. I'm blending in," and she certainly did by standing out.
Yeah.
It's just a shame we never got the scene with her veil and it always going in her mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got Moggy. Moggy did that. She held that.
Yeah,
that
I was just
cloth
thinking the
up and
same
stuck
thing.
it in, which was
It
just
was a different
creepy.
reason,
Oh, I'm sure.
Weird.
I am 100% sure.
Yeah.
Mainly, Elaine's her whole nose in the air thing,
Yeah.
versus
Well, and speaking of
And-
Moggy, it was at the end of this sequence in Tanchico that she spits in the food. We never see who she delivers it to, but
I think it's just generally going to everybody.
Yeah.
well,
it
she
looked
didn't just spit in the food. She
She shoot
tied-
food
Shoot it up and
she tied panties in a knot.
yeah, she ripped up someone's underwear with her teeth.
Did whatever that was.
yeah, unsure.
Yeah, I
what
think that's
in the
just
hell
her
that was
being
all
weird.
Dug in some food, ate it, spit into it.
about. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
so
she just-
petty, and at the same time, so chaotic. I mean, she is just pure chaos, and I'm upset with myself that I am turned on.
It's a missed opportunity. They didn't do an ad campaign with that.
What about her being weirdly
Yes.
turning people on? Or
So like those, like those
Recycle your
State
food.
Farm commercials, but with Moggy.
I'm telling you, I'm definitely doing at least one parting gag about that. The only thing is I've been waiting for them to do something in the show that makes it so that it would make sense to people to make that joke, because obviously show onlys have no idea whatsoever that she did that's what she did in her previous existence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she literally was a risk assessor for an insurance company, basically.
But you know
the Age
that-
of Legends.
You know that disaster guy commercial?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
mayhem.
Yeah, Mayhem guy.
Yeah.
Have Moggy do that.
Yeah, that
right.
would work.
There you go.
I love how every show though will always have characters who, I know this is one of my random tangents, but it's related to some of what we're talking about. You'll always have characters who, these are the characters you're supposed to be attracted to. You know what I mean? They're put forward very overtly as these are the characters who we expect the audience to sexualize on some level. And then there'll be characters who they're like, no one's ever going to sexualize this character. And there'll be a whole massive section of the audience that's like, that person right there. Right there. That's the one who's doing it for me.
The one I shouldn't like? Yes, please.
It's so weird.
How is she Moggy, but he's Ishii?
He does look a lot like an investment banker, doesn't he?
Bill,
you know what though? Max.
You're
I like how
they.
Speaking of Ishii, I like how they used a lot of set dressing with him when he was more present in the show to really sell the bohemian guy who spends way too much time thinking about philosophy vibe with him.
The Matthew McConaughey of murder. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Okay. You can totally see him sitting there going.
He's like, all right.
The Dark One's really kind of groovy when you think about it a certain way, man.
What car does that he drives in those commercials?
The Lincoln. Yeah, that's right. Introducing the new Lincoln Show Wing, bro, baby. It's groovy, man. Yeah, I can totally see Ishii doing that. Either that, or standing on a street corner in Paradise and telling people that like they should get rid of their material possessions.
Yeah.
Well, how about if he just walked around with a sign, "The end is near."
Right? And I'm bringing it.
You would know it.
Yeah. Like we said earlier, as they're leaving, Matt is stopped by the gentleman he had happened to talk to earlier with the washboard abs. I hate that man. And he does, in fact, have one of the actual bracelets, the shackles. And again, I think this is Matt's luck beginning to show.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Thanks for reminding me of that.
I think we are going to get more and more. The whole luck thing is going to come into play as we go on, but I do love that. I feel like this was the introduction to, how lucky was it that the one guy he was talking to?
They are going to have someone actually just straight up say it, though, at some point, because it's one of those things where if it just keeps happening, because I've read up to book 5 and I had still forgotten to take into account Matt's luck. So the people who are just show onlys are going to just see this as being like convenient ass pulls that the writers are doing. You know what I mean?
They are going to have to address it at some point. I think it has to be more overt before they do that, though.
Yeah. There like something really obvious needs to happen. And, well, for example, let's say he's dicing and he starts winning them all. And then they can start introducing this concept of it's happening because he's lucky.
Right.
What they need to do is show something like, he's getting off a horse or something and almost falls into a hole or something. Like he gets these near misses of being very lucky. And then in the background, you just see people like dying, catastrophe, like falling out windows. Like Final Destination shit.
Yep. I definitely think we need some like Rube Goldberg machine type shit happening around him, though. Yeah,
exactly. Like the Final Destination shit in the background, like it's not the focus, but you have like Matt just, he walks and a cart just goes zooming by and he doesn't even notice it, but he like just narrowly misses death. But then someone in the background just falls out the window and they get hung on a noose or something, like just crazy shit.
I think introducing audio cue would work better once we get further along. You do the dice. It's pretty easy. They can come up with something to let us know that this is Matt's luck kicking in.
Yeah.
Real quick.
And I think they could do like a cold open like this, like a 5-minute segment of him just walking down a street.
Yeah. That would be something for season 4, though, I think. But just real quick, his luck is never revealed to be like a power he controls, right? It's just something that happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So the one thing I worry about is having an audio cue might trick the audience into thinking it's something he has control over. You know what I mean? Because that's a lot of times in movies, that's how we sort of signal to the audience that someone is using a power.
Yeah, but Matt can easily explain it. Sit down with somebody in the future and just talk about it's like there's dice rattling, like Nynaeve saying that it's like dice rattling in my head, only I have no idea what they're going to land on. So just saying something like that is enough for them to go, okay, so it's there. He just can't control it at all. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's an easy bit of dialogue to work in, I think. So
yeah, as long as it's brought in at a time when it's going to stick.
Yeah,
it has to be in a serious conversation as opposed to just a little aside within a greater context.
It's got to be something the audience will notice and take note of.
Yeah,
right.
So after this little journey to Tanchico, we go back to the Threefold Land. Mm-hmm. Eggy has her dream. This is where Lanfear blows out Bane and Mullane and puts Eggy on the wheel, and she gets out because the pin falls. Mm-hmm. And then Bear and Mullane tell her after that she needs to believe and believe strongly. Mm-hmm. And that's when she says, let's go right back in. That's showing Egwene being Egwene.
Being Egwene.
Yep.
And I do wonder if there are like cut scenes on here because like it felt like there should have been more. Like I had to go back and watch. It's like I half expected a scene I missed, and it just cuts out.
Yeah.
I'll be right back, guys. Go on without me. I have a kitty cat emergency. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, you got to take care of the kitty.
Yeah, it's probably yakking on his, yakking giant hairball in his middle of his room or something.
Oh, that's no fun.
But yeah, I agree with you, Max. It felt like let's go right back in. It felt like you're setting up a scene that we don't get.
Yeah. There's a big scene on the pile cutting room floor somewhere. I went back and watched it. I swear there's like another scene I missed it or something. I blinked and I put my phone up like, oh, where'd it go?
Yeah, exactly. You sense the cutting room floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Probably.
And I would be remiss if not pointing out the fact that seeing Eggy strapped to the wheel did something to me.
And she was so defiant. She's just so brilliantly defiant at all times. It's just
there's definitely some slashy stuff that goes on in this series.
Max, go back to that picture.
This one?
Yeah. Okay. Now, earlier on, we brought up the fact how sometimes she looks so sweet and sometimes she looks severe.
Mm-hmm.
This is a severe look.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, she looks like death here. Like, honestly, she looks completely pallid. There's no color in her at all. It's just black and white. Like she's 100% black and white. And yeah, I think a lot of this is being influenced by how Egwene thinks of her.
Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. Because I had noticed the facial thing when it was brought up earlier, but now it kind of it's falling into place a little bit.
Let me do something here. Might take a second.
All right.
I have to share a different screen because I can't just share this one because that'd be too easy.
Hairballs are the bane of my existence.
Called it.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about how Lanfear looks severe in this one, right? So here is Lanfear from the previous episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just looks vindictive there.
Well, and the lighting is dramatically different too. It's, this is backlit more than anything else. The other one was the severe side lighting.
I'm trying to remember if there was another scene with her.
Well, I was going to ask you do you have a picture of her in the same setting, but when she's just with Rand?
That's what I was looking for.
Because I'm curious as to whether they adjusted her makeup and everything for when she's doing the whole "haha, I got your man" look at Egwene.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's hard to see. Oh, do you have her and Mo up on the balcony? I think that was probably a pretty bright shot.
Oh yeah, and that was also in the real world too. If we're talking about the scene from like
yeah,
the
that's
first
true.
episode.
I don't have that one.
Okay. All right. Well, the last thing that happens in the threefold land in this sequence is probably one of my favorite sequences of all time. Randon Moraine talking, and the words Sidar and Sidine come up, I believe, for the first time in the entire, not this season, the whole series, or at least it's the first time they're mentioned together.
Yeah.
Did they actually
it's definitely
use
the
those?
first time they're mentioned in the same conversation at the same time.
So I know they mentioned different ways to use it. I didn't know they actually used the words.
Yeah, they did.
I want to say that
they had an origin special on it.
Yeah, there was definitely that.
Oh,
I want to say that in the show, one of the Aes Sedai does say Sidar at some point, but I think it's in the first season or second season. I forget which, but I think it's during like a little brief like training session thing. So it might have been Alana, might have mentioned it, but
okay.
Yeah, I think when they were doing the dirty water trick, she mentioned it.
Oh, okay.
What I really liked about this scene was that it touched on something that, now granted, is I guess still technically headcanon more than anything, but I don't like the idea that the universe is split in half like that, or that there's this power to split between men and women. I do like the idea that people arbitrarily created their own split for it. And if you believe something hard enough, it kind of becomes the truth, And that it's not so much that the one power really truly is split cleanly into a male side and a female side, but that's how culture has done it. You know what I mean? So I like this idea of them comparing notes and giving a little bit of something to each other on how to approach the power. That this is where I sit, this is where you sit, but there's value to looking at it from the other perspective, and maybe something you can take with you from that. Even looking at people like Nynaeve, right? Most of the time when Nynaeve manages to actually grab the power, it's in the way that we're told men do it. Right? I mean, when you really think about it.
She grabs it by the neck and makes it submit to her as opposed to
right.
submitting to it. Yeah.
And so I always thought that the point that Jordan was really trying to get across with the flame and the void was that you need to be somewhere in the middle, But I obviously have not read the whole series yet, so I don't know how if he develops that further or not. But that's just, I like this scene because I thought that it really fit that idea, that it's not one side, another side. But
one thing they certainly didn't do was bring in the Jordan trope of fish can't teach birds how to swim, that thing. And I'm so glad that was left out of this conversation.
Right. Well, Rand even points out, he's like, if there's one thing I've learned, it's the one power, and you don't know everything about it. I said I don't. Right. And I've learned that from the Aiel and the Forsaken. So there is room for there to be something else, because I think they are trying to avoid tying it to gender specifics.
Yeah. Well, and also, it's always strange to me how stories will have this idea that there's a kind of a mythical history that somehow the people are 100% correct about. You know what I mean? We know from our own history that that's just not true. People,
right?
People, you tell a story, and literally only 10 years later, people will have half the freaking elements of that story wrong.
It's a telephone. It's a game of telephone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a game of telephone. Yeah. And so there's no reason, even going all the way back. I remember when people were complaining in the first season about, why are the Aes Sedai talking about the dragon maybe being a woman? The dragon's not a woman. We know that. It's like no, you know that as the reader, but there's no reason the Aes Sedai should know that. Like, why would they know that? You know what I mean? Like it makes perfect sense for them to be walking around going, all we know is that this being is going to be reincarnated. We have no idea how the actual metaphysics work, because why would they? Did the creator literally come down and be like, here's a manual on how the wheel functions and like what gender it does and all this stuff? No. They're making it up as they go along.
In the books, we actually did get a dragon analog that was female.
Yeah, Matarasu, right?
Yep. So
isn't she like the female when the dragon needs to be female? It spins her out. Yeah. So I like it when a story recognizes that people don't actually know all of their mythology. Like they don't even know all of their actual history. How would they know all of the metaphysics and everything that supposedly goes into it? So I like that element.
Okay.
I'll get off my soapbox now.
Okay. But in the course of this conversation, I think the important thing is Rand's warning: don't submit.
yes,
Exactly.
Because that seemed to be what Mo was primarily nervous about. Was she was doing what she's supposed to do, which is, submit and fall, or let it all flow.
Right.
But she was so concerned that it was going to overwhelm her.
right.
And so, he's telling her, don't submit. Now, on a parallel, Nynaeve is afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's afraid to submit as needed to be able to actually get access to Saidar. But here we've got almost the opposite, where if you submit, Saidar will overwhelm. So it's an interesting comparison that we have between the two of these characters at this particular time. And
it also it calls back to or maybe calls forward. I forget where. But calls back to the previous episode when Egwene takes Moiraine to go visit Swan, and Swan says something to her about how if you had been Amyrlin, you wouldn't have lost yourself to the sea. And that's also underscoring this idea that like Moiraine cannot just let herself submit fully. If she does, she'll be lost.
That's interesting.
That's book accurate, and it's one of the things that annoy me the most. Her saying is, as the wheel wills, so the wheel weaves. She does not follow that shit at all. She throws it in everybody's face. Yeah. But she is the one person who's like, no, I'm going to fight back against it. That annoys me to no end.
That's human nature, though, isn't it? We're always trying to tell other people to do what we don't do.
The rules apply to everyone but me.
Exactly. That's why she's a blue.
All right.
But yeah, I definitely love that scene though, and I love the subtle thing about like what their different fears were too, like how he's also afraid of submitting because like the power overwhelms him when he does.
Yeah, it'd kill him.
Yeah, and I loved how the just him letting it creep in just a little bit started shaking the earth. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah. It kind of takes you back to the Dragon Reborn when they're holed up in that canyon.
3, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. See the pot shaking, which comes into play later. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Well, on our journey there, we're going to go to the 2 rivers. We have Perrin and Fael. This is where they have their first conversation, where she talks about mom and he talks about his wife, and the conversation ends with him telling her, "All I see is light," which I think is just so sweet. The second thing that happens while we're still in the 2 rivers at that point, Dane and Valda greet Padden Fane and his bloody friends.
I would say they met Ordeith, because he's going to change his name. He doesn't want to go by Padden Fane. He has to be Ordeath.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they're going to play all of that.
Oh, okay.
Very curious to see how they're going to do the whole Padden Fane.
Well, everybody knows the name Padden Fane in that area. So if he goes by Padden Fane, that would be stupid.
Yeah.
Just dumb.
Well, I don't think he's going to broadcast that the fact he's even there to the Two Rivers people. Now, I suspect the blood that he's got on him is not Trolloc blood. I'm saying that it is the.
It's not
the Tuatha.
It's the.
Well, you're saying he lied?
Yeah, I was thinking it was White Cloaks that he killed.
It's White Cloaks. That's where they got the uniforms from.
What? You said he lied? No.
Yeah.
No, I think it's Tinker blood. I seriously do.
I
Maybe
think
both.
it's White Cloak blood. Where did they get the White Cloak outfits, and where are the actual reinforcements? They're dead because they killed them. That's where the blood came from. Some of them had holes. You could see holes in their cloaks where they were stabbed or whatever, but there's no injuries on anybody who was stabbed.
So all I know is Valda better not die.
Oh,
because he needs to be saved for Matt to kill him.
Here's the thing. That was kind of unsatisfying for me. Wait, Valda or you talking about Fane?
I'm saying Eamon Valda better not die because he needs to be saved for Matt to do it.
Because of Natty.
Because of Natty.
Okay,
the audience needs that. The audience needs that the pathos of seeing Matt be the one to kill him.
I'll be honest. I don't care how they kill Pepe Le Pew. I just hope they kill him.
Oh, he's going to die. He's going to die. I'm calling this shot as one of the easiest shots ever. Not only will he die, but his death will be one of the most protracted and painful deaths we will see in this entire series. That much I can guarantee you. You know what I mean? The question I have is who will they have kill him and under what circumstances?
I think he's going to be around for a few more seasons, though, because he really is a fan favorite.
I'm going to reconnect quick.
Gotcha.
Uh-oh. He's one of those. He's definitely a classic like villain you love to hate kind of thing. And but once they had him kill Natty, he crossed the event horizon. You know what I mean? Where it's like now he has to have a really horrific on-screen death that is directly tied to what he did. You know what I mean? So like Matt has to kill him, in my opinion. He just has to be the one who does it.
See, I think Perrin has to kill him.
I don't think his. I don't know. I think he tortured Perrin and everything, but I don't think it's his personal. It's like once you make something a villain does that personal, I think it has to be the person that they're personally tied to. You know.
Well, I mean, he was tied to Natty Cawthon, and he had to see her burnt body, and he was pissed.
True.
Yeah.
So I could see him absolutely snapping on his ass, and just I don't know, maybe.
I definitely also agree with the folks saying that wolves have to be involved. That is 100%.
I'd be okay with that. That would hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Do Trollocs have red blood or is it black? Like I always thought they had red blood. Trollocs.
I don't recall.
Did they ever tell us in the books?
The one that Moraine disemboweled and cut in half in episode 1 of season 1, I don't remember the blood being red.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was black.
Yeah, it was dark. It was, firelight.
But it was also a dark scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The taint. The taint is in the blood too. Huh.
Okay.
That brings up another point though. Do you guys think that Moggy's gonna be given the whole like what is it like creation of the Shadow Spawn thing?
No, I think each Forsaken is going to have a specialty sort of thing, and hers just happens to be Greyman, and that's all she can do.
Okay.
It would be OP to allow her to make Dark Hounds or anything else.
I don't know if she's going to be just Greyman, but I expect maybe a couple other things. of the assassination types.
I do know that Rafe keeps trying to work Drakkar into every season, and so far he hasn't been able to do it quite yet. He's admitted
Is that
this
a budget
freely.
thing?
It's a budget thing. It's a time thing as well. We don't see a lot of the Drakkar. We see 2-3 scenes with him.
Yeah.
And he's like, justifying that for my visual effects department isn't easy. So I need a reason to justify it. Once we get there, I'm going to be extremely happy. So.
And like you have the Drakkar, but I also, assassination wise, we have the Golem.
Henry Cavill for the Golem.
And it's like, we have the possibility of them finding a capsule with them or her trying to create a new one, especially with Matt's amulet coming into play.
I don't see them doing the stasis box. That's another thing you have to explain.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why creating a new one, especially if you have Matt's amulet coming into play and him having one,
Yeah, for not going.
I mean, seriously, Delaney, if you're going to go there, then I retract my Katie Sackhoff recommendation.
So is that what the box is? It's a stasis box? Because I've been hearing something about a box.
Yes. Stasis boxes contained extremely powerful and dangerous one-power things. And you could put them in there, and they would just basically be in stasis until they're open.
Yeah.
The Golem is released from a stasis box, and he's a nasty, nasty piece of work.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So like a supercharged gray man kind of thing?
Yes.
More like a vampire almost.
What's that X-Files episode with the guy who can squeeze in walls?
Oh.
I don't remember the name of it, but I know the one you're talking about. I can picture it.
He was like hybridized with like a lizard or something, wasn't he? So like he could like compress his body or something crazy.
Something like that. He like squeezes in vents and stuff. But think about that.
The Golem can do that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But more extreme.
It's called a golem then, because like I always think of like rock monster.
Well, it's Golem.
Yeah,
is the way it's spelled. Golem.
Yeah, you'll meet the Golem in a few books.
Book 6.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. One other thing before we leave the Two Rivers, what did you think of Fail's mother being a dark friend?
I personally liked it, but here's one of the reasons why. Because for me, it now, in my head, confirms that Layla was a dark friend. Because I think that's the main reason to do it, is because it sets up a parallel between him and his wife and her mother. It's just that we haven't had the other shoe drop yet. And it's interesting to me to try to kind of plot out how I would have that other shoe drop. But I think at some point we're finally going to get like confirmation that Perrin's wife was a dark friend, and that's why he killed her, was instinct. In that moment, it's like one of the first activations of his wolf brother thing. Okay,
I think the Fail is, or his wife is a dark friend, is a book-oriented theory. I don't think the watching, or the book list, I don't think they would even consider that.
Actually, my wife did, because right before she catches the axe in the stomach, she's directly behind Perrin.
It looks like she's about
with an axe raised over her head.
Yeah, it looks like she's about to kill him.
Going to hit Perrin.
Plus, he later has a dream where when he first sees the wolves in his dreams, they're going after her body.
They're eating her, yeah.
Yeah, and when I first heard the theory, because I didn't come up with this theory on my own, I first heard this theory from the non-readers.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, like they were the first people I saw talking about it back in season 1. It's like, oh, his wife was probably a dark friend, and that's why he killed her. And I was like, huh. I was like, that actually makes sense. But they haven't touched on it again, and I pretty much put it on the shelf.
I think
in the
they had
room somewhere.
Talked about coming back to her at some point, but I think they've shelved that now.
Yeah.
I think Rafe mentioned coming back to Layla's story at some point, but
interesting.
I think I remember hearing
further
that.
Supports the idea that she's was a dark friend, because there's not really a whole lot of reason to come back specifically to her.
Yeah,
except for obviously coming back to his dealing with losing her. But if we're going to actually get into any of her backstory at all, then yeah, I think Dark Friend is 100% on the table. And it would make a nice parallel between his story and her story.
I don't see
Yeah,
any
but Rafe
need to
also
revisit
sometimes
that.
just straight up lied, didn't he? Like, I think, doesn't
So-
Rafe sometimes just straight up
I
lie
don't know
and
if
mislead
Rafe
us?
debunked it. I think Rafe had neither debunked or, bunked it.
He never does.
He gets all Aes Sedai on us sometimes.
Well,
Yeah.
his first answer the first time I see somebody ask that question was, "That would be something, wouldn't it?" And then he moved
Yes.
on, and I'm like, "What does that mean?" What does
It's like,
that
that's a
mean?
very Aes Sedai answer you just gave.
That would be something. Yeah, it would.
But back to like Fail's mother being a dark friend, I don't hate it. Book wise, like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember her mother playing that huge of a part in the books. She was more like mentioned here and there. I think there was like a spot she kind of played a role, but otherwise she was more background character.
Yeah,
I
From what I remember.
She had like an epic moment at one point, I thought. where
Kinda.
She was killing and saving people, and
which
I'm
you can
fuzzy
give
on
to
that
anybody.
I'm fuzzy on
Yeah.
that.
And like there was like, not spoiled too much for BLT, but it was like she has like a moment in the books and then something happens to her. And that's about it. So she doesn't really have much screen time in the books.
Yeah.
Right.
Which makes her more useful as
Rapunzel shows, she has a
motivational-
fan base.
Listen,
I see
she's-
someone right.
her attitude in the books is great, but she can still have the same attitude.
But there are
Just different
theories.
motivation. For
There
that
are
attitude.
theories that her character in the show was lying to Fail about this as a test.
Hmm.
That wouldn't
be
that far fetched for their culture.
And that she wanted to see if Fail would try to swear the oath to the dark friend and kill her for being a dark friend.
Yeah,
And
but
maybe
why
her
did she
brother
kill her
ends
own
up
son?
dying because
Because maybe
takes it too
her
seriously
son
and-
wanted to swear the oaths, was the theory.
Ooh, yeah, that would be interesting too. A nice little twist. Yeah.
Hmm.
My,
And see, and
my
this is one of
whole-
those
There
things
is.
where it's like the biggest thing I always do whenever they make like a big, especially a big change, is I put it on the shelf and say, let's see what
Nice
they do
guy.
with it later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Because that's
Well,
ultimately what determines whether it's a good change or a bad change. How do they use it later?
that's exactly what me and Glenn were talking about it. I'm like, look, right now, I think the trauma bonding between the two over that is a beautiful thing. But is it
Yeah,
a
it
good
works.
decision? I have to wait and see if they pay it off later, because
Right.
they could easily work this story into, okay, if she is a dark friend, 100% she was telling the truth, not a test. You could absolutely have our introduction to be Davram. Her mother's about to kill her, and Davram just shanks her in the back. You see a sword come exploding out of her back, kills his own wife. We just met one of the great captains who's willing to do what it takes to protect his daughter. Okay, it paid off. Absolutely, I like it. Or they could do nothing with it, and then I'm going to be like, okay, that I don't like it.
Yeah. There's got to be a reason for it. I mean, writers don't
Yeah,
just
that's
change
my
shit
thing.
to change it. That's what I always remind everybody of. So there's a reason. We just don't know what.
Something else. I don't think Perrin ever told Fail in the books that Matt had the horn.
No.
No, he didn't. And he waited a long time to tell her about being a wolf brother. So they are
Like-
definitely accelerating.
I am
Yeah.
almost positive she didn't find out till the last battle that Matt had the horn.
I think it was, when she was tasked. Yeah, you're right.
And she never brought it up. Like,
Okay.
I do admire the willingness of the show to just do the thing sometimes. Like, why wait on certain things? Like, just go ahead and just do it. Why not?
And sometimes it's better to
Pearson really
know.
dropped the ball by not having
Yeah.
Fail nut punch Perrin for not telling her about this.
Yeah.
Not
she
just
kinda,
that.
She kind of nut punched him with her butt.
Well,
I mean, if I'm gonna
Before
get nut
she did
punched,
that-
I'll take that way over any other way.
before she did that, though, we have to go back to Tanchico. Matt is talking with Tom and spits out some old tongue. And this is where the singing occurs.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually occurs pretty late in the episode. Min and
Midway,
Nynaeve
but we get another version. So
Min and Nynaeve have been drinking a bit, and Nynaeve wants to pay a local to fill her in on this Leandrin ghost thing. So they find out where Leandrin is. And
okay.
Yeah, and then we end this one in Leandrin's place, where she offs Naomi.
Yeah.
Very,
again,
very
headshot.
creepy.
Let's see. I have that picture here if I can find it.
Shields her while she's sleeping, and gets the information that she wants. Oh, I was going to tell you tomorrow. No.
Yeah, right.
I'm still not clear as far as who's answering to who, as far as the Black Aja and the Forsaken. But obviously, everybody's working against everybody else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Leandrin, it'd be kind of funny if each of the Black Aja is answering to a completely different Forsaken.
Yeah.
That's about how dysfunctional they are in the books, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Well, and in the books, obviously, Moggy does come out to Leandrin and crew, but I think it's a book or two after this.
Yeah, Lanfear is kind of busy in the wastes.
I hope I didn't just spoil something. Well,
I know that I know that I'm pretty sure Moggy's reveal that no, I'm actually one of the Forsaken does happen by the point that I've read up to.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember that. I remember her basically pulling rank finally on them after being a serving girl for a little while.
Okay, yeah, that's where I was, and I was hoping I hadn't gone too far.
No,
okay, perfect.
I can't remember which book each thing happens in, but yeah, I do remember that happening.
I think that's in book 5.
Okay.
I forget the title of 5.
Fires of Heaven.
Yeah, I think this shows Leandrin at her worst. I mean, here's someone she's collaborated with for a long time, I would imagine. And she kills her because she wants to be a Forsaken. I think this is the first time we've ever heard that out of her mouth, or had any inkling that this was her goal. Is it?
Yeah. To climb yeah, she's never said that she wanted to be one of the chosen. I would also, though, just to soften it slightly, she is kind of scared of being murdered by Lanfear if she disobeys. So
yeah, that's true.
And ambition aside, there's no way in hell that Leandrin at this point could go toe to toe with Lanfear and survive. And I think she knows that. So
yeah. Oh, particularly if it happens in Tel'aran'rhiod.
Oh yeah. That little
or in a dream.
Uno reversal on the throne thing was totally the point of that. It's like I can twist you around into knots at any moment without even flicking my hand,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that's the thing that is kind of interesting with the Black Aja is like how much of what they do is just purely motivated by their own selfish desires, obviously quite a lot, but also how much of it is like, oh shit, I've gotten myself into this like situation, and now it's like I have no choice but to do whatever the hell they tell me.
Well, okay. If the Forsaken and the Black Aja worked smoothly together, communicated and shared resource and information, we wouldn't have a book. Yeah, we wouldn't have a book. They would have wiped out our heroes in like book 2.
Yeah. And we know how notoriously bad our heroes are at talking to each other too.
Which is why I was happy that the show is just having them do the thing. Because it's like, instead of doing the whole, we should talk about this, but we won't for some reason. Which is classic, like, storytelling 101, though. But it irritates the hell out of me. It's like, no characters. Just freaking talk to each other. Okay?
Well, it's interesting.
My mom told me once that, like,
in
like, "Go ahead,
season
bitch."
1, when they did talk to each other, it completely backfired. Where
True,
it came out that there was a threesome, rumor crap.
Well, no, there were interests that went along three
Yeah.
lines.
And
That's all.
it's interesting. They were communicating, and it all went to crap.
But you know what? I'm okay with that because that shows smarter protagonists. You know what I mean? It's like they're not screwing themselves over by hiding information that they have no real reason to hide. You know, they're talking about things that make sense to talk about, and you know, even in this scene, like this episode where the whole conversation between Perrin and Fael, right? It's like, yeah, these were deep secrets that they had. They presumably they don't go around broadcasting to the world, right? But in that moment, it felt right for them to share those things with each other, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
And I like that because we could have just had both of them. We could have had her, for instance, tell her story, and then, you know, we pan over to Perrin, and he's like, "Oh, well, that's interesting. So,
That sucks.
Mike,
Want to
yeah,
kiss?
you know, and hide it, and then we would have had like, and we would have had that whole thing where different scenes would have come up where, oh, Perrin, you should probably tell her about killing your wife, and he doesn't, and then we keep on going, you know,
Yeah.
and we would have just been getting more and more irritated at Perrin the entire time. So I'm glad they just like said, nope, let's just have them talk about it.
I was going to say, this cuts down on some of the frustration book people have with Perrin, is how slow he is to develop and
Yeah.
take his spot of leadership, how he doesn't
Yeah.
take it seriously. And I don't think we're going to get so much of that in the show. I think he's going to develop much faster, which is a great call in my opinion.
Well,
Because
there's
he still
the
feels
aspect
very
that
reluctant.
there's also the aspect that we can't have them showing his internal monologue in the show.
Right.
Right.
There's that too, yeah. So we
Yes.
need to cut. We need to have that
Yeah.
presented.
Well, and speaking of which, we pop to the Two Rivers next, where we have Alana and Maxim and a pair of twins. And
Shining
then,
twins, yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the Perrin and Fael, Wolf brother, Matt Horn, kiss. She mounts him, and then Alana interrupts.
I mean, of all the people, you figure Alana would have a little more tact.
Oh, Alana 100% was standing there watching this for at least 3 or 4 minutes before she said anything. You guys know as well as I do. She and Maxim were there like, yeah.
There you go.
I don't think so, or that she would have been like, can we join?
Yeah.
I don't think they're, I don't think they're against that. So
No, they're definitely not. But
And Perrin is, nursing a wound in the side at the moment, so it might not be.
And he's a Two Rivers boy, and we know how prudish they tend to be.
Yeah.
Even in this show, they're still prudish compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I was gonna
That's
say,
true.
Fail don't care about the pain for Perrin.
Yeah, she definitely does. Plus, he was getting that sexual healing.
if I'm Perrin, I don't care either. Let it hurt.
Oh no, yeah, I would deal with that pain in that moment. I mean, yeah, I mean, Fael 100% does it for me. 100%.
Isabella's eyes, I could stare into those forever. Her eyes are just stunningly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's
Tiny
not
but deadly
Moggy,
is my type.
still.
100%.
Okay. Do any of you have a problem with the twins?
No.
I don't.
Oh, you're referring to
I
how
also
fast they're
didn't think it was
healing?
weird
It's
that
like
they were.
the
Yeah.
that's just like just being able to heal without like learning how to do the weave. It's like that's a general issue with the show of like the healing curve of you have a fake out death and then you instantly heal the wound away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. what you're
I
talking
will agree
about,
with her.
Max.
That is a recurring issue I have with the show too. Yeah, there's like severe injuries are inflicted and then recovered from too easily.
And then a person
even-
gets
even in a
randomly
world where
shot
we have
in the
healing.
back and they're dead.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
This goes back to the cold open where we see Leandrin instantly develop a headshot freaking weave, which is just crazy.
Yeah, sure.
But she's able to
That
pull
is
it off
that is
because there's
technically a
a need.
complex weave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm not angry that Alana was able to walk them through how to heal her, including, now picture the blood combining with the rest of the blood, the flesh knitting, the bone going to bone, the muscle to muscle, sinew to sinew. She's walking them through it, and she's a hella good teacher. On her deathbed, she is teaching.
We've seen that.
So I am more than okay with them being able to heal, being walked through it by Alana.
Also, there is the suggestion that possibly they may have been at least sort of like picking up some of the healing arts in the village already, so they have some attunement to it. My only thing that I probably would have changed with that is just that I would have had some indication that it wasn't perfect, which I'm assuming it's not going to be anyway, because obviously, these are novices they're not even novices technically, but you know what I mean. This is like their first like intentional channeling probably, and they just tried to heal someone who had been shot multiple times, so it shouldn't be perfect, and that's what I would expect. The magic of this universe does feel fuzzy enough that, like, even within the books, that like I could accept the idea that people who don't know what they're doing could heal a person well enough. You know what I mean? Like, but not perfectly. Especially because we had several instances in the books that I remember, at least early on, where people did some pretty impressive shit literally without knowing anything about what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Sky Squirrel has a good point that Nynaeve's first touching was absolutely healing Egwene.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. When she had the bone break fever, and she didn't know what the fuck she was doing.
We have book canon. This is possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have Nynaeve later going supernova.
Wait. Oh, gosh. When you said later, I got scared for a second.
No. Going supernova in the cavern. And healing everybody of every kind of wound.
Yeah.
You know.
Now that was the biggest stretch I think so far of the show when it comes to people's skill with weaving. But like,
I was gonna mention, like, even the books. Bill, you mentioned that need. That's a big theme in the books early on. It was need. How did Rand do any of the shit in the other world? He caused the earth to rumble and quake.
Lightning to get them out of the storeroom they were trapped in.
But like literally the eye of the world.
Air.
He rippled the ground, and he's never done that again.
Yeah.
Because he needed that to kill the Trollocs.
Yeah.
He literally created gateways. Book 1.
Yeah.
Stepped through a gateway from Eye of the World.
And we had no indication that a prior life was telling him how to do that. You know, it's just he needed to do it, and he did.
Rippled the reality of the ground, like, because of need.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a running theme through at least where I've at so far, that there is some element of if you want it badly enough or need it badly enough, and you're strong enough, that you can do it.
You'll find a way.
And that's something I think as a theme of Wheel of Time. I think the Asade, like, they're very dedicated on the idea that everything has to be like these weaves, like an instruction manual. But if you need it, like healing, you picture the healing and the weaves will make themselves.
Yeah, that's what Alana was teaching. That's why she was going through step by step. Okay, blood, then muscle, then bone, stuff like that. So
maybe the guidance was less about telling them how to heal and more about making sure that they didn't fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there was a little conversation on this regarding the girls. First of all, are they twins or not? Did they link? And my particular question is, can they only weave?
Can they only channel when they're
if they are linked together, or did they link together? Because they needed more power. And are they twins?
My read on that was yes, they were linked.
Yes.
And that they don't have to be linked to channel, but they probably currently think they do.
They made a big.
I like that.
They made a big deal.
That's going to be their block. You know what I mean?
They made a big deal of showing their hands before they started, how they grabbed each other's hands, and then they were able to channel. So I do think they were actually linked. But you're right. I don't think they need to be linked in order to channel. Right now, that's how they're most comfortable channeling. And they don't know enough to know better. So that's what they're going to do.
And I thought the way
if they live long enough to go to the tower, that's one of the first things they'll learn is how they can channel separately. Go ahead.
And I
Mitch,
thought the way that they looked at each other as well, that it's sort of an instinctive look, leads me to believe that they were twins, but I don't know if there's canon on that one way or the other.
Canon.
At the very least, they're close enough in age that they may as well be twins.
Canon, I believe it's just one sister.
Yeah, it's just Bode.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard.
Reality, aren't they actually twins? Isn't it?
I believe they are.
Oh, the actresses?
Yeah,
They're definitely very close together in age, so they're either twins or they're like
I believe that's what someone was saying. Is in reality, they're actually twins, but
they have the same last name, so they're either twins or close enough where it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
In the show, I think they're sisters, like either year apart or something. But book-wise, like there's just one sister.
Okay.
I don't care. Coming up those stairs, they look like the twins from The Shining, so they are twins.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they do kind of look a little bit like.
Seriously, I had a moment where I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, well, just call them Irish twins, and you're close enough, right?
Basically.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be spoiled for choice when it
So
comes
what's
to
next,
running
Mitch?
gags this season.
So we're getting towards the end here. We go back to Tanchico, and we have Min and Nynaeve go into the other room where they see Elaine singing about her hills. Matt gets the bracelet. Then we go to Moggy sneaking up on Ispan and giving her some new eye sockets. And we end the sequence with Moggy making a little visit to Elaine and Nynaeve.
There you go.
Okay.
Frank B. The actresses are
Thank you.
twins. Canon, they are born a year apart.
Okay,
Well, thank you,
1
Frank.
year. All right.
So Irish twins or just shy?
Irish. That's Irish twins. Yeah.
Irish twins. That's so wrong.
That's what Mitch was saying.
Oh, it's
By the way-
ancient. It's a very ancient reference to families that have children year after year after year
know.
after year. Yeah.
Yeah, that compulsion scene was just beautifully done.
That's one of my favorite scenes of the whole series so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is mine as well.
And it is
It was so well acted.
and it's so close to how it was written. Obviously, the bracelet wasn't there, but I mean, just the whole feel, the stupid looks on the girls' faces. Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Yep.
Lovely.
The horror of seeing, them not only do what they're told, but want to do what they're told is what makes it so god awful.
Yeah, and the subtlety of the acting on display was just so good, especially with Zoe Robbins. That's her name, right? Plays Nynaeve.
Yep.
The way that she conveyed someone acting a certain way while actively trying not to act that way was amazing. Like that if that's not on her Emmy consideration reel, it should be. What
What killed me was after Nynaeve resisted and wouldn't let go, Moggy cut her face, and my wife was sitting in the chair next to me, and she went, "Oh, you done effed up, bitch." And I was like, "Oh, okay." She's already got an idea that Nynaeve is not going to be happy about this when she finds out.
And also, Moghedien's what's the actress who plays Moghedien? What's her name?
Bjork?
Bjork.
No, it's Leah Costa.
How funny would it be if we get all the way to the end of this and find out it actually is Bjork and we just never knew Bjork's real name and all this kind of stuff? She's just like moonlighting in this. But
it's Leah Costa.
Yeah,
the little moment of fear on her face.
Yeah.
When Nynaeve was resisting her and she realized, wait, just how strong Nynaeve actually is. Yeah, that was such a good moment.
Me.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to their inevitable showdown.
I think that 6 to 7 seconds of the two of them fighting over the thing was some of the best, facial projections of doubt and fear and, I don't want to comply, but I have to comply, but I don't want to comply. Just between the two of them, just killed it.
Some of the best nonverbal acting I've seen in a while. I mean, they did such a
Now,
good job.
After that scene, do you think they all three went out for drinks afterward?
Probably.
Yes. In their goth outfits from the Darkest Timeline.
I guarantee you that, because it always seems to be the case, I guarantee you that those actresses are 100% the opposite of who they play in real life. Like, I bet you that, like, Zoe Robbins and Leia Costa are probably goofy, giggly little weirdos out there. You know what I mean?
Zoe Robbins was a Power Ranger, so can't remember that.
I wouldn't know. I don't think I've ever actually watched Power Rangers.
I've never seen them.
It's on her CV. So.
I mean,
I got kids. I've seen them.
I've seen.
I haven't seen her episodes. I just know it on her CV.
But yeah,
that's why she's able to keep up with the train track thing on season 1.
Also, she's older than I realized then, because if she was a Power Ranger, she's got to be like about my age.
Not the original seasons. This is.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, okay.
Wait, was still going.
Yeah, that show did last. Yeah, I was about to say.
It's like 7 or 8 years deep before we get.
No, Power Rangers. Power Rangers, if it's still going, it's like 20-something years old now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That show started when I was a teenager, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
it's still going. It's insane.
Oh shit, that means it's like 30 years old.
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
Yes.
I remember that was one of my early incomprehensible crushes, though, because even though I didn't watch the show, I was well aware of the actress who played their big bad, and I thought she was smoking.
Rita?
Yeah, I thought Rita Repulsa was really hot. I did not understand how she was supposed to be repulsive.
So that also means you like those chips. I can't think what they're called.
Chips.
They have those triangle chips things.
Bugles?
I think that's what they're called.
Oh, the ones that people like
you
to
can
put
them
on
on your
fingers?
finger?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a cone.
Those things are delicious.
Yeah, they are.
So yeah, I do like them, actually.
Especially the nacho ones, man. Those are delicious.
Hi, if you're new here, we like to go on tangents.
I say that because it reminds me of Rita's costume for reasons.
Gotcha. Oh, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. The bugles of Tanchico.
All right. Is here where we jump back to the threefold land?
Well, actually, I was going to say before we go there, Reverse, I don't know how you can hear a thing with Ulcera sticking something in your ear.
That's fair.
If you look at
I still have not paid off my toe, even after all these lifetimes. So this is appropriate.
It looks like you're sticking it right in your ear.
Remember, there's always only toes.
Yep. So we do end up back in the threefold land to end up. We've got Rand and Eggy having a big argument about land fear and life in general. And then the general shows up. And then
that's right.
The most
tells him you're going soft, little staring.
Yeah, then the most heart-wrenching thing in the entire season occurs.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever be over it. My little squash girl.
That would have been.
So, what did you think of Brandon Eggy's argument before we get into the more?
That was this, right, Matt? The heart-wrenching thing.
For me, yes.
Okay, just confirming.
I also hate men with washboard abs.
Yeah,
I remember back when I used to work out literally 4 hours every fucking day and have never managed to get a six-pack ever in my entire life.
You can buy those in Walmart in the drink aisle.
I'm pretty sure that'd be counterproductive. Hey, did you guys, another weird tangent, did you guys ever see the stupid thing that you used to sell? It was like a plastic mold that you would press onto your belly to give you the appearance of having a six-pack?
You don't even need that. You take the plastic thing from a six-pack and then you spray paint.
Honestly, that's what the guys
It's
guys
300,
actual
yeah.
six packs look like to me. They literally look like they were fake.
Guys, the guys on 300, they airbrushed a bunch of their six packs on.
Well,
And that was after doing all the dehydration and stuff that you have to do to try to get cut like that. People think that you can achieve that body naturally and be healthy. You cannot. Okay. Anywho,
well,
sorry.
I'm twice as good as any of them because I'm sporting a 12-pack.
There you go.
A night.
I'm starting to lose my keg. I used to have a nice keg, but it's starting to shrink. Anywho, yeah, we've avoided it long enough. We have to talk about the pain.
All right.
But yeah, that scene where Eggy and Rand finally actually talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of people who've been avoiding talking to each other, I really was annoyed at Rand for pulling that bullshit, I'm gonna flip this around and make it about you kind of thing, rather than admitting that he was being a jackass. But that's Rand. I mean, we've seen that, and also we need someone to talk about it. But it brings up how isn't it Lanfear who says that one of the things she remembers most about Lews Therin was how manipulative he always was. I think that's a point she makes about him, and it's it's interesting to see that Rand pulls that out a little bit here, because this was manipulative. The whole she's sitting here telling him about how you cheated on me basically, and he's like, well, yeah, but it's your fault, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. True. They both are idiots. They both had points. Rand saying I was never enough for you is utter gaslighting bullshit. Rand pointing out that there was always something you wanted more and you were willing to leave me behind to go get it is valid. That point is
true.
Valid.
That part's true.
That point is valid.
That's true.
Now, everything else he says is gaslighting bullshit just about. But she's just as bad, assuming he knows Lanfear is torturing her and not telling him or talking to him about it. So she's equally an idiot. So, yeah, it was frustrating for me for both of them.
Yeah,
I put those two things Rand said as connected. Like he was connecting the two things you said together about Egwene. About him not being enough is connected to the other part.
The problem is that he was using it to justify what he was doing.
Yeah.
With
it was the context he was using was just straight up gaslighting. However, like I said, he did have a point that she always wanted more and she was willing to leave him behind to do it. She did that. She made that decision in episode 1 and immediately wanted to jump back with him the minute they were on the trail. And he was like, no.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was so much she wanted more, she wanted other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That distinction is important, and I'll agree with you there. And it also gets to how there's a lot of insecurity, ironically enough, in our Dragon Reborn here, because you shouldn't feel threatened by someone wanting other.
But he also, don't forget, he also said that he loves that about her.
That's true.
Yeah.
He does say he respects her for that.
Yeah, but it is an actual thing. And this isn't like her wanting a career. I've seen a lot of people sort of comparing it to that. No, being a wisdom mint, you cannot be with Rand, period. And she was more than willing to do that. That is her making the conscious choice of, we're done, Rand. I'm moving on to this. So he's right in that, but the rest of it, like I said, was very gaslighty. But I remember being that age and some of the arguments I had with girlfriends and stuff. And I was just as douchey and they were just as idiotic. So it reads real to me.
Yeah, Matt, I'll agree with you there. I definitely would not say that he's being unrealistic. You know what I mean? In terms of not being a realistic character. He's 100% being a realistic character.
See, Sky Squirrel, that's not what I'm saying.
That's probably one of the reasons why it's so annoying. And you're right. Also, it's annoying that Egwene, and maybe it shows just how damaged their relationship is, that Egwene would even consider for a moment that Rand knew that Lanfear was hurting her like that and was okay with it. You know what I mean? Because that was a bridge further than made sense for her to go, considering their relationship and what they've gone through together. Even if she felt like he was cheating on her and knew that Lanfear was evil and everything, to think that he would be totally okay with her hurting her like that, regardless of what they were at this point.
Mm.
Well,
yeah.
That's the other thing I was going to say is that Egwene is saying that he knew Lanfear was doing this,
Right.
and she has valid reason for believing that.
Yeah.
But she never expressed this to Rand the entire time that she believed this to him until now.
Right.
Like she expected him to just sort of pick up on it.
If she believed that Rand knew Lanfear was doing this, she should have confronted him immediately.
Exactly.
Instead of holding it against him
So
this whole time.
they're both idiots. I think we can all agree
Yeah.
on that. But did you notice that once he found out that it was Lanfear that was doing this, the ground began to rumble the same way it did with Moraine?
Mm-hmm.
He was pissed.
Mm-hmm.
You could see him trying to reconcile that information, and
that the ground rumbling is also something I kind of want to talk about too. Was in the books there's a Fisher King reference with Rand, with King Arthur, and connected to the land.
Yeah.
We have his wound. We see in episode 1 of this season.
The land is the king, and the king is the land. Yeah.
Yeah, a wound to him is a wound to the land.
We never see him channel when the land rumbles.
Right. It's just connected to his.
Every single time we've seen him channel,
Yeah.
But every time we've seen the land rumble, we have never seen him channel.
It just happens, yeah. We know that it has something to do with him losing control, but we don't actually see him doing any channeling.
Okay. Now, see, I thought that second rumble had to do with
it's a very good possibility.
Showing up.
That is a very good possibility.
I don't think so, because we saw them use the portals in episode 3, and that didn't happen.
Well, see, the rumbling right after this is followed immediately with him appearing.
Yeah, and it stops as soon as Rand gets hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
So it's like
it also stops the moment he stops expanding his portal.
Okay, but in episode 3, we see 2 gateways that are used by Lanfear and Samael, and there is 0 rumbling. There is none.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives me a precedent of it's not the gateway, it's Rand. And Rand did it earlier in the episode, and it's the same sound. So it has to be linked with Rand.
To go with it being Rand, yeah.
Yeah, it has to have something to do with Rand, I think.
As far as Rapunzel's question here, the last time we saw it was with Moraine, but it's hard to say whose POV we're seeing. Were we seeing Rand's POV or Moraine's?
We weren't.
We were
seeing third person POV.
Were we Egwene's POV during that scene or Rand's?
Neither.
You mean
that's where it's difficult. Yeah.
Oh, in the show, we're always third person.
Yeah. Well, that's
but
where it's difficult to determine whose POV we're seeing from.
There have been times when the show has deliberately hidden weaves from us as well, and
like in the Hall of Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's hard to tell whether or not they're doing inversion, because obviously with most of the time we've seen no weaves. It's been with Forsaken, so could be inversion there, right? But like, Rand knows subconsciously how to invert weaves, but there'd be no reason for him to do it just while making earthquakes, especially when he's not doing it consciously, unless it's. No, Luce Theron would have to have a reason. He wouldn't just, even with the madness, he wouldn't just randomly make the earth shake. So
and like,
I mean, that's a reason for everything for him.
And like Rapunzel says here, they have showed visibility of weaves due to character POV.
Yeah,
and like in the Hall of Tower, that was more like Suan's POV chapter, where Morghese is coming into the hall with Raven. So they wouldn't see Raven's compulsion weaves if he was using compulsion.
Okay.
Because that was her and the other Hall's POV.
Yet we've seen compulsion wielded by other or by female Aes Sedai, and it's been visible. But I would imagine every time it's been when the victim could see the weaves. Yeah.
I think they're also going back to Robin. I think they're playing with a. There's an element of technological use of the one power, I mean, I guess obviously, in theory, all technology, but like, or science anyway. But like, I think that that Robin is his constant compulsion thing that's going on is, I think the scepter he carries is a power supply, and the thing on his head is essentially like a sort of like a supercomputer mini thing that's actually handling the
tearing grill of some
projections.
sort.
Right. And so maybe they're going with an idea of like, we're not seeing the weaves because he's not technically sort of consciously doing it. You know what I mean? And it's like more like almost like an area of effect field kind of deal. But I don't know. I obviously we have to see
Are you
more of how
actually
they handle it.
suggesting technology, or are you just using technology as an example of how it might occur?
Well, I am suggesting technology in the context of how it seems to work in the Wheel of Time universe. So, like, in my mind, like the Angreal, that's what they are. They're just technological. They're how technology is applied in a world in which the one power is another layer of physics. You know what I mean? So like, so yeah, I think of like things like the thing on his head as being essentially kind of like a computer control system. And the scepters being like a power source.
Okay.
Because
That's
otherwise,
reasonable.
even
I
for
wouldn't rule
Forsaken,
it
I think
out.
he'd be putting out way too much energy trying to maintain all of those compulsion weaves. It'd be very, very complicated and very power intensive.
Well, actually, isn't compulsion in general, once it's implied that this is so in somebody's mind, that is what they believe, and it's not something that needs to be maintained, right?
I can't remember if they ever said it, but I thought I had the impression that it wore off. So that like it didn't. So you could implant something and it would last for a while, but you had to redo it. That's
I think you can do a trigger type thing.
Actually, yes. In a place you haven't been yet, yes, there is a perfect example of that. Okay.
All right, we need to jump on this. It's 11:47. We need to wrap up by midnight. So.
Yeah, so yes, let's finally do it. Let's finally get to the scene that hurt us all.
Well, I say we also have,
but after we get Avienda channeling freaking fire spears to kill
people. Because I love how she uses her shawl to cover her face, and she just goes absolutely Amazon on his ass, and it makes me so happy.
Did you happen to notice the moment that Samael blew out the flame?
Yeah,
that went through his shoulder, right here. He turns his head and he just blows it out.
Nothing but a flesh wound. I do think that contributed though to why he went down in this episode. Though I think Avienda helped.
No,
I think she got an assist. They're getting shanked from the back with a fire spear is still gonna hurt. I don't care if you are Forsaken.
Oh yeah. It stopped him from the killing blow on Rand. He had the hammer back, ready to go, and I love the hammer. That was pretty fucking cool. So
then we get the lightning storm.
Yeah, we get the literally like casual one-shotting of Samael here by Rand.
Here's my thing that nobody is looking at. Look at my background. What do you notice?
I can't see it.
An explosion of energy.
Too small. Oh, okay.
What do you think you're seeing there?
That's after one of the
shield. Rand is maintaining a shield while splitting his flow to absolutely use the lightning. So that's only half of his power as far as the lightning, because he's using the other half of the shield.
No.
That's
do we even know that it's even half of it?
Splitting the freaking flows. That is such a huge deal. And nobody's talking about it. And I'm like, dude.
Well, what was
my assumption here
launching at him?
My assumption here was that this was Lews Therin the entire time. That was my whole assumption. Because, like, Rand is this powerful, obviously, but I don't think he's this capable yet. I think this was Lews Therin stepping in to take care of this.
Yeah, the knowledge is Lews, the power is Rand's.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the fact that he's splitting flows that large, because that Wrath of Zeus attack was freaking hardcore.
Oh yeah, it was awesome to watch. And I love how they're really leaning into this thing they've established with how Yosha portrays grabbing the power, where it's like he's in a trance. You know, it's like he's not really even defending himself. You know, it's more like
he is with a shield.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
But what I mean though is that it's like
his hands were almost like he was holding a sword as well.
Yeah, natural
I
instinct
got that
kind of getting in
impression
there.
when I watched it.
But what I'm thinking of is, well, at least the point I'm trying to make is that it's like he's in the moment. It's like he's really just focused on, I get to touch the power. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what's happening for him. And yeah, he's doing all these things with it, but for him, it's I get to touch the power. That's the read I get off of Yosha's performance. You know what I mean?
I think he honestly thought, use a bitch. I'm going to no look, absolutely no scope, headshot you with lightning. I'm not even going to
look. I definitely think Luz definitely did that. But
if you notice, they pan to Egwene and Avienda on the ground, not moving. He looks down. That's when he starts to channel. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was Luz taking over, given what he did and knows. Mm-hmm. So and it wouldn't surprise me.
I like the call back to the Stone of Tear as well with the lightning.
And the girl.
Yeah.
And the girl.
Yeah, well,
obviously.
Yeah, we got to go there.
The lightning was another
cool
aspect.
Guys walk away from explosions. Yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately.
So here's one of the things. I do think that bringing someone back is possible. I don't think it's about power. I think it's about knowledge. I think that the issue is that no one can really know enough to be able to properly do it.
I think you're 100% wrong because that is just wrong.
No, yeah, I
on a moral
believe
level,
once
that's
consciousness
wrong, is what I mean.
gone, that's it.
Yeah, that soul is gone. So whatever you bring back is not there anymore. It's already up there, ready to spin out to somebody else.
Yeah,
it's already moved on. So what you bring back is not them. So
I still think that's a knowledge problem. You know, that's just if you think of if each soul is being data, if you have to know where to look, you have to know how to get it and how to put it back. And I just think they just don't know.
Because hijacking somebody's data is always good. That never goes wrong. The fuck, dude? Come on, you're hacking souls now? And no, that's a bad idea.
Still, well, does it surprise you that I'm prone to overreach in this particular area?
No, not anymore. No.
I mean, that reaction I had to that scene was 100% real. That was like,
I know.
Every single thing I said there was 100% real. I consider death to be the universe's supreme injustice when it comes to sapient beings, and
I see it as the universe's ultimate equalizer. It's something that everybody must face, irregardless of how much money you have, your job, your station, all that. It doesn't matter. Death is a part of nature. So for me, that's the way I've always looked at it.
I wanted to bring this up earlier when we were talking about Liandrin wanting to become a Forsaken.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Because she has infinite life. Do any of you
she wants life for
do
her
any
son.
of you want to live past your normal lifespan?
No.
Yes.
I've seen Highlander. No. Nobody wants to live forever.
I don't want to live forever in a world where I'm the only one who lives forever. Yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, I do want to live forever.
I don't.
Like I said, like the death is just something that has always bothered me. Like I've always seen it as an injustice. My mom and I have had many conversations about this. My mom very much has the Aiel point of view on it, which is probably unsurprising. But like she thinks that you have your allotted time and that's it. But I want to live forever. I want to be there when the lights go out.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I do got to credit Yosha. He crushed it with his acting during this.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, stop it with the puns.
I didn't even think about that one. That was unintentional, but I will take it.
Yeah, I was going to mention, like,
I was slow to
just his
pick that
acting at
one
the
up,
end
guys.
was fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, he did a great job of conveying just the weight of it, and
There you go.
and the writers knew what they were doing when they made her Squash Girl too. For fuck's sakes, they could have chosen a bunch of different things, but no, they specifically made her Squash Girl. They knew what they were fucking doing. But yeah, like the whole like the as I put it during the reaction, like the basically the realization that as powerful as you are literally within the cosmology of this universe, as far as we can tell anyway, aside from the creator, you might be the single most powerful thing that exists, right? At least within reality. But even with all that power, you are a tool. That's what you are. You exist to, rewrite the balance of the wheel or whatever, to fix the pattern, to make things run correctly. That's your purpose. You aren't here to make the world what you think it's supposed to be. You're not here to, to get rid of the things you think are injustices necessarily and stuff like that. You're here because the wheel needs a thing done, and it puts you out there to do that thing. You know what I mean? Yep. And so the most powerful hammer in the universe is still just a hammer. It's just there to hit that nail, and it goes back in the toolbox. And I think he conveyed that incredibly well, just like that understanding of like, effectively, this has nothing to do with me, really. You know what I mean? Like the weight of that falling onto him.
Yeah. Well, I personally think that the biggest hammer that we had was Leah Costa playing Magedian.
Yeah.
She did a fantastic job. Seriously. Those are my acting MVPs of the episode, though. Definitely were Nynaeve and Magedian. But Yosha came in a very close second.
Yeah,
a very close second.
Yosha was number one for me. Speaking of which, guys, we need to go ahead and give our rating for the episode and wrap up. So, Mitch, what do you give this episode?
I'm going with an absolutely solid 9. There was so little that you could complain about. Solid 9.
Glenn Buey, that always.
Boo, Glenn Buey. Boo.
Hell yeah, what you are, Glenn Buey.
What about you, Reverse? What'd you give it?
It's always hard for me to do ratings, but like, I'll definitely say this is somewhere between a 9 and a 10, leaning closer to 10 than 9. I don't know. I can't probably put it more specifically than that. But
9.876.
Yeah, sure. Why not? This was jeez. But this was a very, very good episode. Very good.
How about you, Max?
I'm going to go an average of 7, but the ending's a 10.
Okay.
Definitely a 9 for me. This is one of the best episodes, right up there with number 4, in my opinion. Yeah, I loved it. I really enjoyed this episode.
Just to tell you why I rated mine so heavily or so highly is the comedy that they introduced. I thought that added so much to this episode that we don't see in others. I like that.
What about you, Glenn
Buey? We'll get a little bit more of.
This is probably going to surprise some people. This is my favorite episode of the entire show.
All right.
By far.
So you're giving it a 4.
A 9.5. I'm giving it a 9.5. I'm giving it a 9.5. I'm taking 0.3 of a point off for the fact that I don't care for the whole change they did with what's her Fayo's mother. I didn't like that. And 0.2 of a point off because there's only one verse to the song. And that song really begs for 2 or 3 verses.
We can ask Nick.
Gotta cover the back heels.
Yeah, they could write us and record 2 more verses would be really nice. I really love this episode.
By the way, I saw that the Dusty Wheel next Wednesday is going to have the author of the song on.
Cool.
Oh, maybe they can write some new verses.
Nice.
Dragamount tomorrow night. Dragamount's got the composer on. Nick will I don't know how to pronounce his last name offhand. If I saw it written down, I could say it.
So before we go, I wanted to briefly mention
Kopakar.
that the
Thank you.
Fisher King thing I had talked about earlier.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We have that whole madness thing with Rand where he just did all this huge power. The taint is kind of going into him. The madness is kind of creeping quite literally here.
Laughing and crying at the same time.
Exactly. He's got the wound going on. The ground's shaking, whatever his, emotions are going. And I think he's going to go back to the garden and he's going to find everything's rotten. And I think that's going to destroy him.
You think
even
that's when
more.
he'll pick up her spear and
he's pretty destroyed as it is. So.
Yeah.
And it's
really
not going
like
to make
that
any sense
idea,
to
by the
him
way.
why everything is rotten.
Okay.
But he is one with the land.
Yeah.
He's strong.
One of the things I wanted to pop in and just say is this episode has an example of the changes, the kind of change that has to have been made. That would not, something on this episode would not have worked if they had not done a major change. And that was everything dealing with her.
yeah.
If we hadn't been introduced to her, if she had just been a random dead kid that Rand finds in the ruins of a building that he tore down with the one power, it wouldn't mean as much to the audience.
No,
Right.
not at all.
On
It would have
screen.
been just one
on
of those
screen.
sad things, but that's it,
Yeah, it would have been unfortunate. It wasn't a tragedy. It wouldn't have been a tragedy like it was on this.
It would have been a statistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I do like changes. I kept the name Glenn Buey for tonight just because I have the reputation, especially with this show. But this season's been pretty good. So I'm not as much a Glenn Buey about this season as I could be, but I'm still not happy with where Matt's at. But I guess they're using him okay. But
All right.
I'm gonna hop back out. You guys have a great night. Wrap it up when you're ready.
I think
Yep,
we're
we're
wrapping
ready.
up now.
a bit, Glenn.
But I think we should have wrapped up before you came on.
Exactly.
Would have saved us a lot of hassle. So with that, I want to thank our guests for being here, reverseBLT. Check out his YouTube channel. We'll have links in the doobly-doo down below.
Got 2 more
Great
episodes to
reaction,
go. by
the way. Great reaction
yeah.
to this episode.
Oh,
Heartbreaking,
man, it
but
hurts.
great.
It's going to be hard to edit. It's going to be a hard one to edit.
I watched it live, man, and your tears were making me cry. It was a whole thing. Mitch, again, thank you for being here.
My
All Brazier's
pleasure.
killing it. Absolutely killing it. Thank you for being here. Max, thank you for running everything, keeping me from pulling my hair out. I have a lot of it. The only reason is Max runs stuff, so I don't have to pull mine out. So thank you. And
Give
with
me
that,
some.
just thank you for everybody who was in chat tonight. Arosa,
Yeah, thank you.
Rapunzel, Light Blinded Fool, pretty much anybody who was here. So
Sky Squirrel was here, and
Sky Squirrel.
yeah.
And if you're not already, like and subscribe and hit the bell.
And send all your Moggy fan art to Bill.
Mango was here.
Absolutely. I will take it. I will not complain.
Save a third for me.
I'll share.
I also
Don't
like,
worry, I'll share.
I also like Madam Bowl Cut.
And with that, we're going to say goodnight, and don't forget to be awesome.
Bye all.